I'm just recognizing that I have on a bunch of YouTube unmuted, so I just had to go back and mute those. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here for yet another exciting episode of the Tabitha Barnes Lies and Inconsistencies. I say inconsistencies just as a way of, I don't know, trying to seem impartial or non-accusatory.
Oh,
I don't
sorry,
know.
I snorted.
Oh, God. So I have Jack and Katie did it with her freaking weird ass horn on her head.
Hey,
It's actually not weird. She's just being, you be you, Kay, you be you.
Hey,
And,
I gotta keep it vibey.
Yeah. And it's okay. It's definitely a good, what's it called, conversation piece. It just shocked me when she popped on with that. I was like, whoa, what is happening here?
Hey, I had to do a lot of weird things during pandemic. We were home for too many months in a row.
So we can bring conversation pieces to the show?
Yeah,
well,
bring
okay.
As long as it fits into your little circle there, sure.
That's out.
I'm gonna need, I should have checked this before we got started, and I'm sorry that I didn't, but I'm gonna need everybody to turn up your volume just a little bit. For some reason, I don't hear any of you really very well, and I don't know why.
I'm on it.
I think I'm 100%, but I'll check. Oh, I might be able to do something here in StreamYard.
Yeah, you're a little bit better, Susan.
Check.
We're not in Discord, so I can't adjust your volume.
Check 1 2.
A little bit louder if you can.
Testing 1 2 3.
Yeah.
Mic check. Check.
Yeah, you're nice and loud, Kay. Good. Cherie?
Test.
Hello. I don't know how to turn mine off, so I hope it's good enough.
You just turn on your volume where your little volume button is down at the bottom. It's no big deal. Hi, everybody that's in chat waiting. Hi, Dark Side.
Am I loud enough, Rhonda?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like all of you, except for Kay's got her volume up. I think all of you could just be a little bit louder, but it might just be me. As long as the chat can hear you, really, that's all that matters. So I'm hoping that everybody in the Midwest and in the South Midwest are surviving this heat, because I basically am sitting at about 80 to 85 if we're lucky heat. So I hope that nobody is miserable. Hey, Yoris, how you doing over on Foul Play? We have a lot to get through tonight, and I want to get through as much as I can. So if it's all right with everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. I didn't choose anybody to read Ariana and Gloria Prince's parts. So when we get to that, Susan, Lori McConnell does the direct examination for Ariana. If you want to read Lori McConnell's part.
Okay.
And Kay, would you mind reading Ariana's?
Okay.
It's not really very much. Okay. And Cherie, I've asked Cherie to read the court parts, and there's quite a bit of court. So if you're not comfortable reading that much, let me know, and I'll read for it. I'll read the court part.
Should be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I know you can handle it, but I know how it is. And Jack, of course, is going to play Scott Adams' part. So we're going to get started. And just like the last time, I have my little call out boxes that I've put into different parts. And so.
But do you have your liar buzzer?
My liar, I need to get that open. It's going to be going and going and going. So. I'll try to get that open so it's.
I was gonna say we really need that, but if it's gonna be pretty much a constant thing, Just hit it, one time for 5 seconds. So that covers, 15 minutes.
I know, it's crazy. So let me just make sure I have. So we all have several tabs open that we're going to be working from. So bear with us as we try to read through them. This is the beginning of Tabitha Barnes' actual trial testimony. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. And I'll make that bigger. Hey, Ian, over in Foul Play. It's great to see you as well. Okay, again, I have my call out boxes. You guys can just, in the chat, you can just read the call outs if you'd like. I might read some of them if I feel like it's important enough. Otherwise, you can just read them as we read along. You can read the call out boxes. I've made them big enough. So, okay. So we're going to start with Mr. Gigger. This will be Tabitha Barnes' trial testimony, part 1.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You might want to tell everybody what part this is.
Sorry, this is part 1. She's got 2 parts because she has a very interesting trial.
State calls Tabitha Barnes.
Step right before me. All right, if you'll have a seat over here in this chair, once you get situated, pull that microphone right around in front of you. If you would state your name and spell it for us, please.
Tabitha. Tabitha.
All right, and your last name?
Barnes. Barnes.
Sorry. All right, thank you.
Judge, may I have just 1 second, please?
Yes.
Tabitha Barnes was called as a witness after having been first duly sworn and testified as follows.
Ms. Barnes, do you recall how you were initially contacted in this case?
I was contacted, yes.
Okay, and was that by Detective Gregory?
Yes.
Okay, and ma'am, when you talked to Detective Gregory, you told him about some things that had happened to you some months before that. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Why didn't you tell anyone before Detective Gregory came to talk to you?
I didn't think no one would believe me.
Why not?
I'm a black female. I don't have anything. Who believes me? I didn't think no one would believe me at all.
I want to turn my attention, I want to turn your attention, ma'am, to talk a little bit what you told Detective Gregory, all right?
Yes.
Specifically, did you talk to him about an officer?
Yes.
And if you can, I want to turn your attention back. Do you remember the dates exactly as you sit here?
No.
Okay. And we've talked about this case, and as you've testified before, you know there is some things we have that show when he was working.
Yes.
You know that. I want to turn your attention back to that first time you remember contact and something inappropriate happened, okay?
Yes.
If I tell you that was in around February the 27th of 2014, does that seem about right to you in your memory?
Yes.
Okay. If you would just, well, first of all, where were you whenever you came in contact with this police officer in February, specifically the 27th of 2014?
I was in front of my home.
And tell us where your home was located at that time.
On Northeast 15th and Jordan.
Is that on the northeast part of Oklahoma City?
Yes.
Who lived there in that house with you, ma'am?
Me and my children.
Okay. Can you tell me? I don't necessarily need to know all their names, but how many kids were living there with you?
3.
3 children?
Yes.
And what were their ages?
11, 7, and 14.
And ma'am, at that time, years before, had you been convicted of felony offenses?
Yes.
Had it been more than 10 years ago in your memory that you've been convicted of felony offenses?
Yes.
All right. Other than your 3 children, who else was living with you in that house in February of 2014?
Terry Williams would come over after he got off of work.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about Terry Williams.
Terry Williams was my boyfriend at the time.
And were you aware at the time, ma'am, that Mr. Williams had been convicted of sex offenses?
Yes.
I'm just going to go ahead and ask you, why did you allow Mr. Williams, a sex offender, convicted sex offender, around your kids?
Because I did a background on that situation with him and had nothing to do with children. And he was able to come around children.
Okay, so you felt like, at least based on your information, it was okay for him to be around your children?
After I spoke with his probation officer.
Did you observe him do anything inappropriate with your kids?
No.
Okay. Didn't concern you that way?
No. He took care of them.
So you were at your house. I'm sorry. Was there anyone else living there at your house in February that you haven't told me about? You told me about your children and Mr. Williams, who would come around occasionally. Anybody else
That would come over to the house?
that was living there?
No. Nobody living there.
Other people would come to your house as well?
Yes.
Do you know an individual named Angela Cooper?
Yes.
Who's Angela Cooper?
She was like my best friend.
Okay. Do you recall if she was there the night that you had your initial contact with this police officer?
Yes.
Okay. What were you and Angela Cooper, if anything? Well, let me rephrase. About what time of night was it that you remember coming in contact with this police officer?
Roughly around 11:30 or 12
PM?
at night.
At night? Yes, ma'am. PM?
Yes.
What was the occasion? What was going on that night?
Well, that night we wanted to go to the store, and she was like, let's go check my card and see if food stamps have came on so we can get us some snacks.
All right, let's talk a little bit about that. You said, let's go check my card and see if her food stamps have come on. In case people don't know, tell me about how food stamps work and the card that you're talking about. What did that mean?
It's an EBT card, and they post at different times of the month.
Okay, it's a renewable card?
Yes.
And they put money on your card?
Food stamps.
Food stamp money?
Yes. Yes.
And just, people may know, but people may not. Back in the day, they were actually stamps you could get for food, but now they use an electronic debit card. Is that right?
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. When she said, let's see if there's posted some money on my card for food stamps, what does that mean? Like, what that mean to you? Like, how does that work is what I'm asking. The food stamps. How does it get posted onto your card?
Well, it all depends on what date and who different, you know, different people what date it come on. And it just automatically deposit
Once midnight hits?
midnight.
Is it your experience that money sometimes gets posted?
Yeah, it goes on.
It's done with a computer program, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that why you were gonna go shopping so late at night? That's my reason I'm asking you.
Yeah, wasn't nothing really there and we was waiting.
Wait until midnight?
Yes, we was waiting till midnight.
Okay. So what happens? Tell the jury about it.
Okay. Me, my daughter, Zion Barnes, and Angela Cooper. It was ice on the ground, so it was really cold. So my car was parked on the side. So we was sitting in the car waiting on it to warm up. And we facing the front of my house. I seen two police officers ride by 15 and Jordan. Like, well, didn't think nothing of it. Like probably 3 minutes later, I looked in the rearview mirror. They been they went around all the way around. So 15. They had to make a right on 16th and come back down 15th.
You saw them again?
Yes, behind me.
Okay. All right. Now, when you say two police officers, I want to make sure I'm understanding you. Do you mean one car with two officers in it, or do you mean two police cars?
Two police cars.
Okay, so you see them. You're assuming they circle the block and come back around, and you see them again. They're behind you.
Yes,
At this time, are you and Zion and Miss Cooper in the vehicle in a car?
yes, my car.
You're in your car. Okay, and they pull in behind you, the police officers do?
One car pulled behind my car. The other police car pulled in front of the house, like right in front of it.
Okay, and then what happened next, ma'am?
We was asked to get out of the vehicle. One officer took Angela Cooper to the car that was in the front of the house. I was asked to get out. Sorry.
Susan.
I told you. Oh, Jesus.
She says,
Hey, that's what the transcript that's what the transcript says. So
I know.
Literally
I'm
what
just
the heck-
surprised they typed it that way.
I am too. I'm
"Get your shit
I'm
together,
really
Tabitha."
Yeah.
Okay.
We're so mature.
I was asked to get out and get in the car in back of my car, the police car in back of my vehicle.
What about Zion? Where, if anywhere, did she go?
She went in the house.
And why did she go in the house, if you know?
It was cold outside.
Was she told to go in the house? Did you tell her to go in the house? Or did she make that decision on her own? Or do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know, but you do know she went into the house.
Yes, well, they came back out, but
If I understand what you've told me, Miss Barnes, so you're in the car that's now behind the other police car. Can you see what's going? Can you see the other car in front of you?
yes,
Did you see Miss Cooper get in that car?
yes,
The officer who instructed you to get into the car behind you, do you see him in the courtroom?
yes.
Okay. Can you tell me where he's sitting and what he's wearing, please?
Sitting over there to the left with that black coat on.
Okay. What color is his shirt, ma'am?
His shirt looked purple.
Ask the record to reflect identification, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Yonner? Where's Yonner?
All right, record will reflect that this witness has identified defendant Holtzclaw.
So once he puts you in the car, can you tell the jury what happens next, please?
He put me in the car and he ran my name, and I had city warrants.
When you use the phrase run, he ran my name, to you, what does that mean? Because is that something that have some experience with police officers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you mean when they run your name? You're using that phrase. What does it mean to you?
He got on the gadget.
The radio?
The radio, whatever he's talking on.
A phone or something?
Uh-huh.
So he talked to someone.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And he ran your name. And is that when you realized, or did you know you had warrants before that?
Yes.
Okay. Once he learned that information, or did you hear the radio person say she has warrants?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about the conversation, if any, that happened after that.
He asked me, did I know I had the warrants? And I told him yes.
So you told him the truth.
Well,
okay.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, he basically started talking to me when get them paid, and
when are you going to get the warrants paid?
When am I going to get them paid?
Okay. Tell me what you understood the warrants to be for. Not the charge, but I mean, you said paid. Were they money warrant? Did you owe people money?
I owed cash bond.
Who did? To the city of Oklahoma City?
Yeah, just the city. No felony. City tickets.
Okay. So you discussed, he asked you and you responded about what would be required to get those taken care of and get you to pay them, right? What'd you tell him, if you remember?
I told him I hadn't been, I have been out of a job and I hadn't had the money, but I was going to file my taxes and I was going to get them taken care of.
Oh, holy shit. Was that the truth? Was that your intention?
That was my intention.
Have you done that?
No.
Okay, why not?
Actually, I haven't had the money to pay for that. I have 6 children, and right now I'm paying rent cash.
Back then, 3 of your kids were living with you, but you had other kids other places?
My oldest, I have 3 more boys. I help them out too when I can. I got 3 at home.
You got a job yet?
No, I haven't. I just transferred and moved to out of state.
All right.
To do better.
So you discuss the warrants and you tell them your intention is to pay them once you get your income taxes, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember what he said in response to you making that explanation or that offer?
No, I don't.
Okay. At some point, did he discuss, well, let me rephrase. Did you think there was a possibility you would go to jail as a result of those warrants?
Yes.
Tell me about that conversation, if any. Did you ask about that, or did he say anything about jail?
No, I didn't say anything. Asked me, did I have drugs on?
So the conversation goes to drugs.
Yes.
All right. And what did you say?
I said, no, I do not.
At this point, ma'am, let me ask you, do you know what was going on, if anything? Let me rephrase. Can you see what was going on in the police car in front of you at that time?
The police car that Angela Cooper was in?
Yes, ma'am. That's the one I'm asking about.
She got out.
Okay. When did that happen?
Didn't take no time.
Okay.
Like,
Do you recall, was it before the warrant check on came back on you or after, or do you know?
my warrant check had already came back
It had come back. How do you know she was out of the car?
because I seen her get out of the car.
And when she got out of the car, what did she do?
She went in the house.
And when she went in the house, did you observe the other police car and what it did?
He drove off.
It left you there?
Yes.
Okay. During that time period, if you know, about how long was it from the time that car in front, that police car drove off until you started being asked about whether or not you had drugs? Or can you tell me that time?
Well, after Angela went in the house, police car drove off. He ran the warrants, and I knew I had them, and he told me I had them. That's when he asked me, did I have drugs on me?
So it happened, in your memory, it happened after the police car had left and you're still there in the police car with the defendant?
Yes.
And tell me about that conversation and what happened.
I
He asked if you had drugs. What'd you say? What happened next?
I told him no, I didn't have no drugs on me. And he asked me, could he see?
Could he see?
Yes.
What did that mean to you, ma'am?
Did I have anything underneath my shirt?
How did you know that's what he was talking about?
Did I have drugs underneath? He asked me,
About your shirt specifically?
did I have any drugs on me?
On you at all?
Yes.
And so his response was, "Can I see?"
Yes. So I, like, literally, I raised my shirt up halfway. It wasn't good enough. And he was like, let me see. And I stated, shouldn't an officer, lady officer, be checking me?
Did he respond?
Can't recall what he said when I said that.
All right. I want to ask you a couple things about that, Miss Barnes, if I may. Whenever he said, "Can I see?" you said you lifted your shirt up about halfway. Is that right?
Yes.
And you're motioning. Did you have a shirt that you could just pull up?
Yeah. I wore like these little,
Okay.
I mean, I was basically in my pajamas, but they real thick pajamas, the legs. Me and Angela was dressed alike, and we had on a white tee.
A white t-shirt? Were you
No,
wearing underwear?
no,
Do you normally not?
normally not.
Okay, so when you lifted your shirt up a little bit, ma'am, what part of your body, if any, was exposed where he could see skin when you did it the first time?
My breast.
You lifted it all the way up the very first time?
I lifted it halfway up.
Okay. Whenever you lifted it halfway up, were your breasts exposed or just your stomach?
Just my stomach.
Was the skin on your stomach exposed?
Yes.
And then he responded, "Can I tell me again
Can I?
how it happened from you went from this, but then that not being enough and then going all the way?"
Yes. I had lifted it up halfway to my stomach, and he was like, "What's underneath?" Specifically said, "What's underneath?" I said, "Nothing is under there." And he was like, "Let me see."
And then you said something about a female officer.
Yeah, I mentioned, shouldn't there be a female officer? I can't recall what he said to me after that.
Why did you say, shouldn't there be a female officer doing this?
I watch a lot of police shows, and I mean, a lot. And not only that,
Had you been searched before by the police, ma'am?
female,
Uh-huh. No?
I don't, huh, uh-uh.
But your response was,
I know that, I mean, I know that a male officer is not supposed to touch a woman without someone present, or a female especially.
so that's why you said that to him.
Yes, sir.
And did you tell me you don't recall what he said in response to that?
When I spoke on the female officer,
Yeah. When you said, isn't a female supposed to do that? You don't remember what he said?
I don't remember what he said.
Okay. What happened next? Do you remember uh do you remember happening next?
I lifted my shirt up.
Did you think you had a choice to lift your shirt up? Mr. Adams.
Hold on. Wrong. I'm sorry. Judge, I would just object to the form of the is leading.
All right, sustained.
Why'd you lift your shirt up?
Because I didn't want to go to jail.
So did you do that? You lifted it up?
Yeah, he told me. He told me he was going to let me go.
Okay. Help me understand that. What do you mean?
He was like, I'm not going to take you to jail. Just play by the rules.
Do you remember him saying those words?
Yes.
What did that mean to you? What did you interpret that meant?
That I know what it meant. I mean,
Tell me.
play by his rules. Do what he asked me to do, and I'm going to go home. I'm going in the house just like,
So you lifted your shirt up?
yes, just like he told my children, your mother's not going to jail.
I'll get there in a minute, okay? Let's just stay in the car with me. Okay. So far in the car, it's just you and him right now. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
All right. Ma'am, so you exposed your breasts. What happened next?
He asked me, did I have anything underneath my breasts?
Okay, and what did you say?
I said no.
And then what happened?
I didn't want him to touch me, so I had got ready. He's like, no, let me check. He lifted my breast up.
So he actually, I want to make sure I understand. You said you had begun to do it. Had you begun to lift your breasts up, ma'am?
I was going to do it because he was like, is anything under there and all that? They hang or whatever.
And I neglected to ask you this, ma'am, but where were you when all of this was going on, and where was he?
He was out of his car and I was in the back seat of his car with the door open.
Okay, which side of the car were you on, the driver's side or the passenger side?
The driver's side.
So you were on the driver's side?
Yes.
So he had you step out after he ran you and got the warrant information. Was he in the front seat whenever he did that, or do you know?
Yes.
Okay, so at this time, he stepped out. You were sitting in the driver's seat on the back side, passenger driver's side. Okay. Are you all the way in the car with your feet in the car, or are your feet outside the car?
At that time, my feet was outside the car.
Okay. He was standing there?
In front of me.
The doors open?
Yes.
And I apologize. I should have asked you that before. I went through that. And it's when that is happening, then does he actually touch your breasts, ma'am?
Yes.
With his hand?
with both of his hands,
Skin to skin?
skin to skin.
Okay.
Tabitha, line 24.
Happened to Kay.
She said okay.
Oh, I
Oh,
said
I'm
okay.
sorry.
All right.
And not like with it. Didn't seem like it lasted 2 seconds, 3 seconds.
Not very long.
Nope.
After he did that, ma'am, what did he do next, if anything, if you recall?
He said to me, I need to get my tickets taken care of.
Okay.
I'm not going to take you to jail today.
Then what happened?
I got out and went in the house and called my girls to the back.
Which girls?
Zion Barnes and Ariana Barnes.
And ma'am, I told you not to tell me before, but I want you to tell me now. Zion was how old back then, or how old is she now?
15,
She's 15 now, so she would have been
14.
okay. And how old is Ariana?
She's 12.
So she would have been 11.
Yes.
All right. What did you tell them?
I called them to the back room
Okay.
and I told them what happened.
Were you upset?
Yeah, I was. I was crying. And they were just looking like, are you serious?
Why did you tell your daughters what had happened, ma'am?
After I told them what happened, I told them if they see him to run.
Did it scare you?
Yeah, because I got girls.
All right. Ma'am, I want to go ahead and show you some things. Can I approach, Judge?
You may approach.
I'm going to hand you 146 through 159 inclusive. Ma'am, do you recognize what these pictures are? I'm going to flip through them with you.
Yes.
Are they essentially different pictures of your house back on 15th and Jordan?
Yes.
And obviously, it was nighttime during this event, but these are taken during the daytime. But do they accurately reflect essentially what your house looked like and the way the streets are back in February of 2014?
Yes. Just no snow.
Just no snow. Offer exhibit, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, State's exhibit number 146, 147, 148, 149, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, 156, 157, 158, and 159 will be admitted.
Thank you,
Dang.
Judge. May I publish?
You may.
Ma'am, I'm not going to show you all these right now, but I'm going to show some. 146, if you look at that TV screen right there, you'll be able to see. That's basically the intersection that you lived in back then, right? Street signs?
Yes.
All right.
Ma'am, if you need to answer, make sure you pull that microphone around in front of you so we can all hear.
Okay.
Is that the front of your house, ma'am?
Yes.
In this photograph, do you know those people in the yard, or do you know that car?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the car you were in that night?
No.
All right. 147, excuse me, 148 gives a little with that car as a reference. Whenever you were in the car, ma'am, whenever the police officers first pulled up, were you parked in the driveway, or were you in the street, or does that picture show where you were?
My car was parked. I think that's in front of, like, see where that car is right here? My car was parked on this side in the front.
This car or this car?
That car.
Okay, so in front of the house, right?
Yeah, closer to my house,
Kind of
but on the same side.
closer toward the big trash can?
No.
Close back this way?
Yeah, go back.
Sorry, back here?
Right where that car is at. Just pull up a little bit. I was a little closer toward my house.
About right here?
Yes.
Okay, and ma'am, just for this is this the side? Is that the side of the house?
Yes.
Okay, so this road right here is Jordan. Is that correct?
Yes.
The road that goes in front of your house is Northeast 15th Street.
Yes.
All right. This is another picture of your house, right?
That's the side.
Yes, ma'am. The side, that's 150. States Exhibit 151 is the back of the house. Fair enough.
Yes.
States number 152 just kind of gives us a straight on view of at your house at that time. Is that right?
Yes.
And I just want to show you those to kind of get a little bit of a bearing on where we're talking about. That's all I wanted. You can turn back toward me now. So you go in and you tell your daughters what happened.
And Angela Cooper.
Oh, and Miss Cooper. Let me ask Miss Barnes, since you told them, why didn't you just pick up the phone and call 911?
Well, I felt like who would believe me that an Oklahoma City police officer had touched me?
Did you feel helpless?
It is what it is. It is what it was.
Had you ever seen that officer before that night, ma'am? Do you recall?
Nope.
You hadn't had contact with him before?
Nope.
Ma'am, was that the last time you saw this police officer?
Nope.
I'm going to turn your attention now again about a month later, give or take. Do you remember something happening with the officer about a month after that? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am, again. Do you remember the exact date?
No.
If the records, I turn your attention to the 25th day of March, all right? So about a month later, 2014. Did you see that officer again on that day?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what happened that day that you recall.
Me, Ariana, and Marcus had came back. It was dark time. Once I approached coming up on my street, I see a police car in the middle, in front of the house.
All right. So if I go back, let's say states exhibit number,
Right there.
does that one show it? Hang on. Does that show where it was?
That street in front of, behind the red car.
15th Street?
Yeah, the street in front of my house.
So so you'd been gone with your kids and you come up and there's a police car there?
So I parked right there on the side.
Okay, you parked on Jordan.
Yes.
All right. What happened?
My daughter was like, "What you gonna do?" I was like, "I'm gonna get out."
Did you recognize the car?
I just knew it was a police car, but I already knew who it was. It was Spike.
Why do
Can we
you
pause? Can we pause for a minute?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I just was going to, I have to take a break for a few minutes. I got to take care of something upstairs. Will you guys talk about the whole Spike thing, though, for those who might not already be aware?
Please.
So Spike, well, we don't really have any we don't really have in a police report when Tabitha Barnes told him that she nicknamed him Spike. Um, I mean, we believe that because Tabitha Barnes, in her description of the officer, she said he had spiky hair, and then Ariana Barnes also said he wore his hair in spikes. but neither one said, so we nicknamed him Spike or we called him Spike. I think based on the way that Rocky Gregory wrote the police report, using the name Spike instead of the suspect Daniel Holtzclaw, I think he used the word Spike instead of Daniel's name in the official police report 15 times or more, which is, I mean, ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Did you ask? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Sheree.
No, I was wondering if you ever asked Daniel whether he ever did wear his hair like that.
I've seen some photographs where his hair is
Yeah.
messed up with gel, and I could see where someone would call it spiked.
Oh, okay. The only one I ever remember seeing a picture of with spiked hairs, it looked like Scott Adams had it spiked in one picture. Maybe maybe it wasn't. It just looked that way.
Yeah, I mean that's not the common thing you see in photographs of him, but I have seen at least one photo where I could understand them describing spiked hair.
Yeah.
Yep.
God, I lost my brain. Can you explain to Ian Rose? He's new to the case. He's on the Foul Play live chat, and he said that I'll read his comment, and I did comment about this, but he said, "Hey, I don't know much about this case, but I thought I'd give it a go. The fact that was so many women that came forward make me think no smoke without fire." And I replied, "They didn't come forward. These defectives ran them down." Can you expand on that just a little bit while we're waiting for Rhonda to come back?
Yeah, so what started this whole thing was a traffic stop that Daniel made on his way home one night, and he was in the habit of turning his onboard computer off at some point on his way home, which he had done that night. So he stops Janie Liggins, doesn't turn his computer on or call her back in.
She swerved.
Yeah, she swerved left of center. He checks her, determines that even if he thinks she may have been drinking, that she was okay to drive. So technically, and so she goes home, and a few hours later, she files a complaint that he forced her to give him a 10-second blowjob. So technically, she came forward. And then
she was given a SANE exam.
Right. So
that same night, morning.
So when they found out that her SANE exam came back and exonerated Holtzclaw, none of his DNA in her mouth or around her mouth, they knew they weren't going to be able to file charges on him or hold him. So they go back to someone who Daniel had stopped. So this is June 18th of this after hours traffic stop. So they go back to Terry Morris, who Daniel had stopped on May 8th, but on May 24th, she got into an altercation with her ex-boyfriend, and he called 911, and either she was telling a true story about an incident where she had been sexually assaulted by an Oklahoma City police officer a few days earlier, 2 or 3 days earlier. She was sure of it. She kept telling the same story. Drove an older model police car, which Daniel did not. 2 or 3 days earlier, which they cleared Daniel from that. And they were looking at Daniel because they were looking to see who were the last officers that had contact with her. And Daniel had stopped her on May 8th. But they're I think they were just desperate to not let this case go because of what was happening at the time. You know, George Zimmerman down in Florida had been acquitted. People were pissed about that. All kinds of violence with,
Racial violence.
yeah, going on all around the country. So they try to get her and bring her on board and connect her to the case, which they do finally end up after she mysteriously gets arrested after she won't, she signed a decline to prosecute and ask him to leave her alone. They track her down again, show her a photo lineup. She asks him to leave her alone. She won't become a part of the case. Rocky Gregory suggests, are you sure that assault didn't happen over by Liberty? Which they knew that's where Daniel had stopped her on May 8th. And so they
16
did,
days before.
yeah, not 2 or 3 days before. So then she ends up in the Oklahoma County Jail, and Detective Gregory and Lieutenant Musney go down and they interview her, don't record it. And then they turn the recorder on for like the second half of the interview when it's obvious that they've gone over this May 8th story. So she changes the location to the location they need her to say. She changes she
And they're
just
quite far apart, aren't they, those two locations?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I mean, technically, I guess they're saying that she came forward because when the 911 call was made and the officers came out because she was destroying her ex-boyfriend's car, she tells that I was raped over by the city rescue mission, and she tells this whole story.
By a police officer.
Yeah. And then there was another accuser, and then so Daniel was acquitted of all of the charges for Terry Morris. So there was another accuser, Shardarion Hill, who Daniel was arresting, and she ate a vial of PCP basically to destroy the evidence because she was going to have quite a quantity of drugs and she knew she was going to be in trouble. So he ends up having to sit with her in the hospital while she comes down from ingesting a lethal amount of PCP.
Do you know what the date is of this one? Okay.
Shardarion Hill, I want to say was, I'm sorry. I guess I don't. I was thinking it was the end of 2013.
It was December 12th, 2013.
Okay.
And she had a bunch of PCP poured on her too, and it can be absorbed through your skin. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Plus, she had smoked it, so
she's in the hospital. Daniel's in the room with her for like 5 or 6 hours until they clear her to be taken to jail. He takes her to jail. He books her. He's talking to her this whole time that he's in the room with her. She tells him that, yeah, she's, been trying to clean up her life, but she slipped again. And, she's going back to college and going to get her life together and all this. And he obviously believed her. So this is the accuser that he friended on Facebook, and he was checking on her. That sounds horrible. That's like the most incriminating kind of thing that I ever heard about.
But there was nothing sexual.
No, there weren't. No, all the Facebook messages were brought into court, and it really was. He was just saying, "Are you doing good? You need to pay the fines." kind of encouraging her to stay on the straight and narrow and take care of her legal troubles and get on with her life. Well, so after Janie Liggins, the after hours traffic stop, reports, she sees that on the news and she comes back in and she makes up some allegations against Daniel, which when her
Just
full
6 months,
interview,
6 months, 7 months later.
uh-huh.
Almost a year later.
Yeah, her full interview is available to view. And it's really, I think, the most ludicrous, scattered. Obviously, she's just making stuff up as she's going. Of all of the accusers, hers is the most ridiculous. But at the end of her interview, when she's walking out, she tells Gregory, Detective Gregory, so, like, is this good evidence? Because, like, even if he didn't rape nobody or nothing, he's still getting in contact with women that he pulled over. So Daniel was acquitted on all of the charges against her as well. So those are one more. Kayla Lyles was one more that technically, even though police had already gone out and talked to her parents and told them what they thought happened to her, left a card, ask for her, to ask the parents, please have her get in contact with us. She uses, I think she used it to get out of trouble because she was on probation. She had missed a meeting. Well, she made her June probation meeting. She missed her July meeting. And then in August, I think it was, that she went in. And she went into her probation officer saying that she had missed her probation meeting the last time because she had been raped by that Oklahoma City police officer that's been on the news. So technically, I guess you can say she came forward, but all the other accusers, of which there were 13 total, they were all, there was a list. They looked for only Black women with a criminal history, drugs and prostitution that Daniel had pulled over. So they took the GPS results from his daily work as a police officer. They looked at all those and they chose these women that fit this profile, which ironically wasn't a profile that matched the original accuser, Janie Liggins, which is so bizarre to me. And they went and they tracked down all these women. So, the narrative in the media has always been that all these women, 13 women, came forward. But that's just simply not true. So, how about that 10-minute explanation?
It's hard to make any one explanation for anything without going into detail about something else. It's just really difficult. So yeah, and TJ,
It's really impossible.
Yeah,
I
It's
think
such a
it's
complicated case.
important to say that when they contacted these women, they told them that they had a tip that they
Yep.
had been sexually assaulted by a police officer.
That's right.
Yeah. So
So not all of them agreed with it. They contacted more women than said this happened.
There were actually 22, right?
I think that's correct, Jack.
Yes. Yep.
All right.
Also, Ian, and I'm sorry, I'll put a link in here in a minute about Brian Bates' podcast. He did such a wonderful job helping the defense. He did a lot of investigating. There are interviews. It will blow your mind. It will absolutely blow your mind if you watch his podcast.
Yeah, he does a great job It's called Bates Investigates.
Yep.
So,
You did a great job there, Kay, explaining
You
that.
did, Kay. You did,
Well,
Kay.
oh,
That's
thank
why I like to have Kay do it, because she can do it much quicker than I can.
well,
I
it's
end up
hard.
trying to tell the whole damn case, but just to explain one little thing, she can narrow it down a little better than I can.
Well, it's not easy to summarize this case
It's not.
or any
You can,
part of it.
you can also watch Daniel's interrogation
Yes.
on YouTube.
Yep. Okay, let's get back to I take it. I had to go move my truck. They're building a house next door, and my truck was in the way. Oh
All
God.
right.
My truck was where it was supposed to be, but it's in their way. Go figure.
Well, you don't want it to be in their way.
Yeah, definitely. I'd rather, and then, yeah, for that very reason, I moved it a little farther down the cul-de-sac than was really probably needed. So,
Are we on line 2?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you just use the word Spike? Tell me about that.
Well, that was the name I gave him because I didn't know
His name?
his name, and he wear his hair up in spikes, and that's what me and my children called him.
So because of the way he wore his hair, you nicknamed him Spike.
Yes.
You come home, you see a car, your kids ask you, "What are you going to do?" And you get out, right?
Yes. So I told them to come on with me. Ari didn't. Ariana didn't want to go, but I told her, "Come on, walk with me." So as I got in the grass, he called me by name.
What happened?
He called me by name. He said, "Tabitha, come here." And I said, "Here you go again."
Ma'am, whenever you pulled up, did you notice anything else unusual at your house that day other than Spike being there?
Uh-huh. Yes, I did. It was a black African American laying right by the pole,
Laying in your yard?
laying in the yard right by the pole.
Okay, you said a black African American. You mean a black man in your yard?
Black man. Yes.
Okay. Did you know that black man?
No.
I just have to dig. A black African American. What other color would an African American be? I just have to wonder.
Yeah.
I asked Spike. I'm like, "Are you here for him?" And he was like, "No." So he walked by. I said, "Why is he, my thing was, why are you here?" And that's
Well, why is the police officer there?
yes.
Well, okay, then what?
And I said, "Are you here for who is this?" And he was like, "I don't know." So he walked over to him, kicked him, told him to go on. He walked down, not down Jordan, but back down that way.
Could you tell if that black man that was in your yard was asleep or passed out, or could you even tell what was going on with him?
I don't know if he was asleep or passed out but he was laying there.
Ma'am,
But
is this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
but when he kicked him, he didn't automatically, jump, get up. He "Hey, move on, move on." That's exactly what he said. He said, "Move on down the road."
It took something to get him up and going?
He kicked him.
Okay. Ma'am, is this part of town, is it common for people to be walking around?
Yes.
This part of town?
Yeah.
So after the police officer made this man move on along, what happened after that?
He told my children to go on, head in the house.
Okay.
And he put me in the police car again.
Do you remember? Okay. So did your kids go on in the house?
Ariana didn't.
Okay. What Ariana do?
She stood there
Stood where?
on the porch.
The porch. I can see there in a state's exhibit number 147. that wood porch in front of your house?
Yes.
Okay. I should ask, ma'am, whenever you left the house that day before you came back and saw the officer in your at your residence, who when you left was home, if anyone?
Terry Williams.
Your boyfriend?
Yes.
Was anyone else home with Mr. Williams that you were aware of whenever you left?
No.
Okay. When you came back home, did you learn that Mr. Williams was still there?
Yes.
All right. But am I understanding you? At this point, the kids, two of your children, had been told to go inside the house, but you had not yet gone back inside the house?
No, I hadn't went in yet.
You're back now. You're in the back of the police car again?
Yes.
Same spot or different spot in the back of the police car?
Same spot.
Okay, so on the passenger side, excuse me, on the driver's side back seat,
Yes.
on the driver's side back seat.
Yes.
All right. What happened then, ma'am?
He started asking me about my tickets again. And he asked me if I took care of them. And I said no.
At this point, had the defendant said anything about your house to you?
Yes, he did.
What he told you about your house?
He said I've been in your house.
Whenever he said I've been in your house, was that surprising to you?
Yes, it was.
Why?
Because I asked him, who let you? I asked him, I said, who let you in my house?
Did he respond to you?
He said, I went on in.
He said I went on in your house?
Yes. So I'm in the back seat. Like,
Did that concern you?
well, yeah, that concerned me because yes,
Was that before or after he had asked you about had you taken care of your warrants or your tickets?
that was after.
After the tickets or the warrants? Oh, okay. So he asked about that, and apologize, ma'am, if you told me, but I may have missed it. So the sequence is you're in the car. He asked about your tickets. Did you respond to him and give him an answer when he inquired about your tickets?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I told him no.
Did you give him a reason?
No, I didn't.
Okay, and then the conversation then goes to him talking about being in your house. Is that what happened next, or did something else happen?
Yes, he informed me that he had been inside my house.
Did you ever say anything to, the defendant about your kids?
Yes, I did.
What'd you say?
I told him that he was scarring my children.
Was he?
Yes, he was.
Did he respond to you about scaring, about your concern?
He called my daughter to the car.
What'd he say to her?
He asked her was he scarring her? And
Did she respond?
yes, she did.
Did he say anything else to her?
Yes.
What else did he say to her?
Go on in the house. Your mother's going to be okay.
Did she obey him?
No, she stood on the porch, right, a second, and then went in.
So she went back to the porch, hesitated, but eventually she did go inside.
Yes.
Do you know if she shut the door or could you see the front door?
No, I can't recall if it was shut or open, but no.
After he instructed Ariana to go back inside the house and assured her that you would be okay, what happened after that, ma'am?
I was in the back seat. That night, it took kind of long. The situation, he talked, I can't recall the word, but what he was asking me or saying,
There was some discussion more in the car?
yeah, I can't remember what it was.
All right.
but it took longer. I mean, it was longer before he proceeded to do what he did.
And what happened?
After a minute, I'm sitting in the back seat, and he was like, "I ain't gonna take you to jail." And he asked me once again, did I have drugs on me?
Was it dark outside?
Yes.
Okay, what'd you say?
I said, "No, I do not."
What happened then?
He got out the passenger. He got out the driver's seat of his car, came to the back seat, opened the door, had his hand over the door, and he said, "You got anything under your shirt?" I said, "No." Said, "You gonna let me see?"
He said, "You gonna let me see?"
Yes.
Okay, what'd you do?
I let him see.
You pulled your shirt up again?
Yes.
Essentially the same way it happened before, or is there anything different about it that's specifically different?
I raised my shirt up and let him see what he.
Did he touch you this time?
Nope.
He did not touch you this time.
Nope.
After you raised your shirt, what happened?
He pointed to my pants.
Tell me about what kind of pants you had on. Before you told me you were wearing kind of pajama pants. What were you wearing on this day? Same type of shirt or different kind of shirt?
I always wear white t-shirts.
I'm not trying to embarrass you, ma'am, but I want to be real specific. Were you also not wearing a bra that day?
I can't remember.
Let me ask this. Whenever you pulled your, do you remember now?
Yes, I did have a bra the second time. Yes, I
What
did.
the hell?
Where'd that come from?
Oh, do you remember what I coached you to say now?
Uh-huh.
Come on, man, we are having a problem with this bra thing. You were supposed to get it right for trial.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this whole bra thing is a big thing between the police report and the preliminary hearing and now and
She
even
did, she didn't, she did, she didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And she's so sure about it every time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, not to go off track again, but then in the deposition video that I've shown several times, she, talks about it and she claims that yeah, she just claims in the deposition he didn't even touch her breasts, much less did
Yeah.
she have a bra on or did she not. So it's crazy.
You had a bra. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Are you guys ready?
yeah,
Yep.
go ahead.
You had a bra on the second time? Whenever you moved your shirt up the second time, did you actually expose your breasts? Did you move your bra as well? Was your bra still covering your breast?
I moved everything.
Why'd you just go ahead and move everything?
I know they.
Do you understand my question? Like, why didn't you just pull your shirt up and leave your bra on? Is what I'm asking.
I just did it like we did it last time.
Is that what you thought he wanted?
No. Yeah. I just followed suit basically.
Okay. What kind of pants were you wearing if you recall the second time?
Leggings, tights,
Stretch pants?
black.
He says what? You said he motion? You motioned whenever you were testifying a moment ago. Did he point at
He pointed at him.
and he said what?
What's down there? And I just looked at him. He was like, "You gonna let me see?" I just pulled them back. He looked down, pulled them up. I mean, they flap. They flap back.
God damn it. Susan.
I'm sorry.
That was very Barnes-esque with the snot up your nose.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
does sniff a lot,
Sounded
doesn't
like
she?
it hurt though.
Gross.
You motioned again, ma'am. You're sitting in the car.
Yes, I'm sitting in the car. Same back seat.
Your feet are your feet in the car or your feet outside?
Feet out the car.
Your feet are out of the car this time?
They was out of the car last time.
Last time too? Okay, you're right. I apologize.
There's
So,
just real quick. There's a lot of back and forth about feet inside, feet outside, kind of like with the bra no bra situation. I just haven't had the ugh, wherewithal to dig into the whole feet inside outside thing. So, but yeah, that's another
Lie.
lie. Yeah.
so you're out of the car, you motion, and I know there's a wall kind of, that little rail kind of blocks some of your hand motions. Tell me how you pulled, what you did with your hands specifically. Describe what you did.
I pulled them.
Pulled them out?
Yeah, they stretchies.
Okay. You were wearing were you wearing panties?
Nope.
When you pulled your pants forward, were your privates exposed? Could he see your vaginal area, your private area?
Yes.
Could he see it?
Yes.
Did he say anything to you after you did that?
Nope. He said, I'm going to let you go.
Still have warrants, right?
Yes. I'm going to let you go. So I got ready to get out of the car, and he said, hold on. I got $20 in the back seat. And I went, remember, I had $20, but I didn't know where. Everything happened so fast, but I remember I had a $20 bill. So what I did, I turned to see what he was talking about. There it was, a $20 bill in the back seat.
And I want to make sure I understand. Was that your $20 bill? Where was your $20 bill?
It was in the house with my purse. Ariana had my purse.
Oh my God. She said her 20 was added. Right after she says that she didn't have a bra on, then they talked about the 20 in the police interview that was recorded, her second interview. She says, I had a 20, had it in my bra or my hand or something. Okay, so
But I kept a lot of things up high. So I'm like
in your bra?
thinking that, once I had.
I'm sorry, we're talking over each other. I apologize.
Okay, I'm sorry. Once I had raised up my shirt, that's where I keep my money at most of the time,
In your bra.
in my bra.
Okay.
So
So
when
sorry.
he mentioned the $20, I'm like, my instincts was like, hold on, I had $20 too. Then when I looked, I'm like, no, that's not mine because it was balled up. And he was like, no, that's not yours. That's mine. And I asked him, I said, why do you have $20 in the back seat? And he said, I got my reasons.
The court.
All right, Mr. Whitmer, it's after 5 now, so we'll go ahead and break for the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll recess until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I need to admonish you not to discuss the case, not to let anyone discuss the case with you. You can step down, Miss Barnes. Don't try to find out anything about the case. If anyone should try to approach you or send you anything or contact you about this case at all, report it to me or my bailiff immediately. I need everybody to have a seat. Again, same procedure. Check in over at the jury assembly room, and then if you be over here, I was reading that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
If you'll be over here in the jury box at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Mr. Holtzclaw, you're excused until 9 a.m. Defendant exits the courtroom. All right, the jury will be in recess until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. the jury exits the courtroom. All right, thank you. We'll be in recess until 9 o'clock. All right, the state has redacted that rule 350.0 that I allowed to be admitted as state exhibit number 400. Your objection to it being admitted even as redacted is noted.
What is
Bessie,
that?
Okay.
get something.
I don't know.
I'm trying to, it has to do with the witness before, the accuser before's case.
Okay,
Oh, sorry, Cherie.
that's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Oh, sorry, Jack. Okay, so let's see. What we're going to try to do now, well, what we're going to do now, excuse me, is well, I wanted, like I said, I didn't read the call outs like I have done before. I just kind of left them there. So if you wanted in the chat, you could read them, or pause and read them if you wanted to. But those just kind of give a little more insight as to inconsistencies or lies that pertain to that particular statement or comment. So now what we're going to do is the next morning when they come to court, or the next day, they have to do an in-camera hearing. So we're going to read that. It's only about 8 or 9 pages long. We're
You
going
want to you should explain what an in-camera hearing is for those that don't understand it.
Oh, yes, sorry. So an in-camera hearing is a hearing talking about a specific aspect of the case or a testimony or something that is held outside the presence of the jury. So the jury's not called into the courtroom yet.
And typically the public is not allowed.
And the public is usually not allowed. And it's something that, it's usually something that could, what's the word I want? Be bad for one party or another. Not be bad, but what is the word? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But anyway, that's what
Prejudice.
Thank you. Prejudice the
Jury.
the defendant or whoever it might affect. So in this case, this in-camera hearing is about Tabitha Barnes herself, and it's pretty interesting. So I think we're going to just
next
go ahead.
Morning? Is that when it occurred?
Yeah, this is in-camera hearing is the next morning before trial, before the beginning of trial. So we're going to go ahead and read that, and this is mostly going to be the court and Scott Adams and Galen Gigger. So here we go.
All right, let the record reflect that we're out of the presence of the jury. Counsel for the state is present. Counsel for the defendant is present. Defendant is not present with us right now.
Mr. Adams.
And he waives his appearance, Your Honor.
And Miss Tabitha Barnes is present. Miss Barnes was a witness that began her testimony yesterday, and then we broke for our evening recess. We were to begin at court today, November 13th at 9 a.m. when the district attorney, Mr. Gigger, came in and said that his witnesses were running late, and then had some information of some problems that Miss Barnes apparently lives out of state now and was staying at a hotel last night, and that there were some issues at the hotel. Why don't you, Mr. Gigger, just briefly put it on the record so that...
Judge, until Miss Barnes got here, I was getting different information, which I didn't know was accurate or not. There was some indication that Miss Barnes had left the hotel. Once the entire family arrived, I understand that Miss Barnes, as to what she's told me, was that she went down to the front desk, engaged in conversation with a hotel employee, and through that was told that she could charge items that the state of Oklahoma would be responsible for from the gift shop, as well as receive a third room because Miss Barnes was not particularly happy with the sleeping arrangements because her and her family, she felt like, was crowded and were crowded into 2 rooms, and the children were not all getting along. That conversation, from what she told me, it sounds like lasted somewhere between about an hour down at the gift shop with the employee. At some point, her daughter came down and also and was engaged in some of that. When it was all said and done, her daughter and her ended up in another room that the hotel indicated to her would be charged to the state, would be her assumption was the state would pay for it. This morning, whenever her sister began to try to locate everyone, she couldn't find Miss Barnes and her daughter because they were in a room she didn't know about because she had gone to sleep. To kind of move ahead, as the sister figured out there was some items charged, the hotel was indicating that the charges for those other items from the gift shop would be attributable to the sister's private account. That, in fact, was deducted. Eventually, Miss Barnes and her daughter were found to be in this other room, but then there was a lot of issues about who was going to be responsible for the money, which delayed them leaving the hotel. And it also caused a lot of, I think, in her family problems as well between her sister, who is allowing Miss Barnes to live with her in Dallas right now. So those issues seem to have been somewhat, at least, put on hold at this point, trying to get them resolved. And our office has contacted the hotel because we have a contract with that hotel, as I understand it. And these types of things shouldn't happen. With all that being said, I think there's some concern because it was initially suspected as Miss Barnes left the hotel that she had.
We did leave the hotel. Me, my mother.
Hang on. In any event, I think there was some concern about just making sure that Miss Barnes hasn't come under the influence of anything. She has assured me that the only thing she's taken is prescription medication that she takes regularly.
By my psychiatrist.
But with that being said, that was the issue this morning, which caused the delay, Your Honor.
Miss Barnes, did you sleep last night?
After I took my medication, yes, I did.
Been taking anything other than your medications?
Nope, I take Celexa. The Celexa is to control my angry.
You're what?
Angry.
Angry.
Are you familiar with my psychiatrist gives it to me? My Seroquel is 300 milligrams, and it all depends on what time that you take it. It all depends on what times you take it. That medication controls your moods, but it also puts you in a deep sleep. I have a prescription.
When did you take it?
Last night.
Okay, do you feel like it's having any influence over your speech or your coordination or your thoughts?
No, I do not. When my sister is my best friend, my everything. And I'm very emotional, but
Sure.
when she came in this morning on my head.
On your what?
On my head.
She came in on your head?
Let me rephrase that. Rephrase
God.
that, please. Getting on my ASS.
I think she's using slang, Your Honor.
Well, she came in.
She got on my ass is what she was. Was she upset?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, about the motel,
Okay.
So I'm the baby and I cry a lot.
Okay.
When it comes to my family.
And you know that you're under a subpoena, which is in order to be here and testify, correct?
Yeah.
And you understand that that's a requirement, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you haven't taken anything other than your prescribed medications?
I haven't.
You have not?
I have the medication.
But are you telling me that you have not taken anything other than your prescribed medications?
No, I just said the medicine.
Okay, well,
The Seroquel, yes. If you don't get all your sleep out, you know, it still be,
well, let me ask you this. You wouldn't mind then going and having a urine test, would you?
no.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get another witness lined up.
Okay.
Because have you got somebody that can escort her to,
They'll actually come over here, Judge.
will they?
I can do it either way. One of the detectives there's a third detective here that's not a case agent. And I'm sure she doesn't mind taking her over if the court wants to do it that way, or we can come over here. Whichever, doesn't matter to me.
Are you talking about conditional bond?
Yes, conditional bond. It's 713-1152. They'll actually come here and they can do it right in there.
Mr. Gray, would you mind calling them and saying the judge asked if somebody can come over and do this?
I'll step out.
Sure, thanks.
Judge, what we may do, if it's all right, we'll try to we may just put Ariana on first. We'll get her done. That way we can get this done.
My thing is, who said I use drugs?
Well, no one is saying that, but we just wanted to make sure everything's okay.
And her confusion is, Your Honor, I told her that I told her that through the chain of being informed.
They ain't gonna take my blood.
No, it's a urine test. You just pee. It's a pee test.
I got a kidney infection, and so it's not like I'm peeing. Like, I pee probably one a damn dang day.
Okay,
Well-
well, that'll be all right. They'll come over here and you can go right in there and we'll close. Everybody will leave in that way, other than the drug people.
And Your Honor, her concern is because I asked her that same question whenever the assumption was made that she left the hotel.
Um, this is the judge, and before I came out here, I smoked marijuana.
Oh my God.
When was that?
About 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I'm going to test positive for THC.
Okay,
Anything else?
No, just
Okay, in any event, Judge, she was upset when I told her that there was some concerns of that this morning because of the assumptions we were making.
and I have prescriptions for my Xanaxes.
Oh my God. Now it's Xanax and Seroquel.
So she's assured me that she's didn't do anything else. Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
They'll need a detective to take her over there.
Is that okay with you? It's just across the street. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
somebody will walk you over there.
Okay. Are we done?
Yeah, I'm done with her.
Okay, the in-camera hearing was concluded and the following occurred in open court. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Almost afternoon. Let the record reflect that all members of the jury are present. Counsel for the state, counsel for the defendant is present as well. I think in voir dire, probably one of the attorneys said something about this isn't quite like TV. We deal in the real world, the attorneys and myself. We have been having to deal with some issues. I apologize for the delay. I hate that it happens. But at this time, we're going to be calling a witness out of order. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we're that was interesting, don't you think?
Very.
Yeah.
Well, I only take my Seroquel, and then I smoked some marijuana a few weeks back, and I got a prescription. And I got a prescription for my Xanaxes.
And I can
God
only
Almighty.
pee one time a day.
Yeah, and I only pee one time a day. I have an infection.
I think she was a
She
little
was
nervous.
she was flipping. Yeah.
Yeah, she was tripping. It's yeah.
I guess she can tell a story, huh?
She can spin the yarn.
Yarn.
I hope she's not a fisherman too, but my God.
Oh God. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and go along with just like they did through the trial. They called Ariana out of order, and also Gloria Prince, who is Tabitha's mother. And so we'll go through those. I can't remember. I don't remember because I had forgotten about Ariana, and I think I was gonna. Hey, were you gonna read Ariana's?
Yeah, I
Okay.
will.
Okay, and then Susan's gonna switch over to Lori McConnell. The ADA is going to question Ariana. She's just a I don't know, 14, 13 or 12 or 13-year-old kid at the time. So they have Lori McConnell, the softer female.
So I'm going to read her.
So yeah, if you don't mind,
No, I don't mind.
I'll have you read for Laura McConnell. Oh wait. Oh no, okay, you're gonna have to read Mr. Giger. Sorry, I forgot. I'll read Ariana, and Susan will read Lori McConnell. Sorry about that.
Giger's not in here if Lori McConnell's in here.
Oh, this is true. So back to what we just said.
All right. You had it
He's
right.
just here.
I have
He's
it
just
right
here
the
at
first time.
Yeah, he's just here at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah.
We'll just start on line 9.
Right.
All right, if you'll have a seat over here in this chair. Once you get situated, pull that microphone right around in front of you. If you would state your name and spell it for us, please.
Arriona.
And what's your last name?
Barnes.
How do you spell that?
Barnes.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Barnes, Ariana, do you know a person by the name of Tabitha Barnes?
Yes, ma'am, that's my mother.
That's your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And back in 2014, did you live with your mom, Tabitha Barnes?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you live at?
Northeast 15th and Jordan.
During the time you were living at Northeast 15th and Jordan, did you know an officer that you called Spike?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call him Spike?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you call him that?
Because that's what my mother know him by, and that's what I know him by because that's what he had on his hair.
Did you ever see Spike?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the first time you saw Spike. Good
He
Lord.
was parked in front of our house, blocking the driveway part. He asked my mom who was the man that was in the house, which it was Terry Williams. And
Let me stop you, Ariana, just so I can make sure that I understand. Were you already at your house whenever you first saw Spike? Or was Spike at your house before you got there?
he was already there.
Okay. And what were you doing at your house before you saw Spike that first time?
Getting groceries out the car.
And who was getting groceries out of the car?
Me and my little brother,
And what's your little brother's name?
Marcus Barnes.
And had you just gotten back from the grocery store?
Yes, ma'am.
Had you gone with your mom, Tabitha, too?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else beside you, your mom, and Marcus?
No,
Okay. And when you saw Spike, was he in his police car or out of his police car, or where was he?
he was in the car.
And where was his car parked?
It was parked in front of the driveway.
And you said that you saw him talk to your mom.
Yes,
When you saw him talk to your mom, where was that? Was it outside the house or inside the house?
outside,
Okay. Where were they at?
like right there by the driveway part. That's where the car was parked. So was like she was sitting in the car and he was standing up like by the back door part.
Okay. And I'll talk to you about that in a little bit more in a second, Ariana. What was your brother Marcus doing while Spike was talking to your mom?
He went inside. He never come out because he was scared.
Tell me, tell me that one more time. I didn't hear you.
He was inside.
Oh my God.
He never come out because he was scared.
Where were you whenever?
I was by the window
Were you inside the house or outside the house?
inside,
And was the window open or closed?
open. In
Thank
front
you,
of
Larry.
time. What the hell? Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Could you hear what was going on?
No.
Okay. You were telling me that your mom at some point got in Spike's police car.
Yeah.
How did that happen? I can't believe she's calling him Spike through this whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
God, how did
Pisses
that
me
happen?
off.
Because he had to tell her to get in the car.
Is that something you heard?
No. She says.
Okay.
She told me.
Okay. Whenever your mom got in the police car, what part of the police car did she sit in?
Like where the passenger part is, but on the other side of it?
So, was she in the back seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she on the driver's side of the car or the passenger side of the car?
She was on the passenger side.
Okay. And was she sitting in the car?
Yes.
Did she have her whole body in the car?
No, it was always like sitting like legs that way and facing him.
So her legs were outside the car.
Yes.
Okay. And how was Spike? What was his body doing?
It was like facing her, like always facing her.
Was he sitting down too? Or was he standing up?
No, he was standing up.
Okay. Outside the police car?
Yes.
And you told me that he was parked in front of the driveway?
Uh-huh.
Was the part of the car that your mom was sitting in and he was standing outside of, was that closer to you or further away from you?
It was further. That's why I couldn't see too much.
Okay. Could you see anything that was going on between Spike and your mom?
No.
Okay. What happened next after you saw that?
And then my mom came inside.
Did Spike ever talk to you that day?
The second day?
Okay. Did anything else happen that you saw between mom and Spike that first time?
No.
Okay. Was there another time you saw Spike?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It was a man laying in our yard, and he told my mom that he went inside our house, and my mom said, "Why did you go inside the house?" And he said, "Because I'm the law and I can do that." And my mom said, "You can't." He was like, "The front door was open anyway," which it wasn't.
Well, and do you normally leave the front door open on your house?
No,
Do you usually lock the front door or not lock it?
we lock it.
And where were you whenever you saw your mom and Spike having that conversation?
I was inside helping my little brother.
Could you hear it with your ears?
Yes, the window was open that time. Yeah.
Okay. And where were your mom and Spike whenever they were talking the second time?
Parked in the same spot he was always parked in,
Okay. And is that
outside.
okay?
Okay. Yeah, the car's outside.
The car's
Parked
outside this
inside the
time.
house? Is the car inside the house or outside the house? Well, it came inside the house through the open window.
At the end of February.
Okay.
I can't believe Adams didn't object to her calling him Spike.
I know.
Well,
I
you'll
agree.
yeah. You just wait.
Okay. Did you see anything that was going on between your mom and Spike at that time?
No.
Okay. Did you see your mom get in his police car that time?
Yes.
Was she in the police car again, like you told me before?
Yes.
Okay. What about his body that time? Was he standing like you told me before?
Yes.
Do you ever see Spike any more times?
No.
Okay. Do you ever see Spike's police car around your house any more times?
He always passed by the street. My mom told us to come inside.
Did you actually see him come by your house more times?
No.
Okay. That's just something that someone told you?
Yeah.
Okay. And before the first time that you saw Spike, did you know anything about Spike before that?
No.
Okay. And had your mom, before the first time that you saw Spike, gotten upset about something and came and told you about it?
Yes.
Where were you whenever that happened?
Inside.
Inside your house?
Uh-huh.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who was around whenever your mom got upset and came and told you?
Me and my brother, but he didn't understand.
Tell me about how your mom was acting whenever
She was just saying, she was just crying
was she crying a little bit or a lot?
a lot.
Do you see your mom cry a lot like that?
No.
And whenever your mom was crying, did she tell you what she was crying about?
Not all the time.
This time, though, whenever she was crying a lot, did she tell you what she was crying about?
She did.
Was it was she crying about something that had happened to her?
Oh my
Yes.
God.
And did she tell you about what happened?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
Judge, I'd object as hearsay.
Judge?
Come up. The following was held at the bench by court and counsel out of the hearing of the jury. Give me an offer of proof of what you believe that she's going to say.
Judge, from talking to her in my office yesterday, specifically, I believe she's going to say that her mom came in crying, as she said, and told her that this officer made her mom show him her body parts, is the words that she told me her mom used. And that would be the end of the inquiry.
All right, overruled.
Judge, may I also? I want to object that it's improper bolstering, and in addition to that, this is not about what I was told that this witness was going to testify about. That her mother was crying, and that relayed information to her that about body parts. That is not in their summary of her testimony.
Judge, the police report has that her mom told her about what had happened with the police officer, Officer Holtzclaw, whenever her mom first encountered him. I know it doesn't use the term body parts, but it doesn't have a quote from her in it. That's just the words that she used yesterday in my office when I asked her to tell me specifically what were her words to you. Judge. Judge.
Sorry, I was muted that time. Well, what does the summary say that this witness will testify to?
Ariana said that her mother told her that Spike had seen her mother's breasts. So, I mean, She just used the words body parts, and so she motioned.
It says child of victim Tabitha Barnes in car on 227, 325, heard on 326. Events seen is all it says.
And, Judge, just to be clear, the witness and exhibit list that counsel is referencing, it also points out, counsel, to specifically the case number and supplemental number for this report, so counsel can refer to that to see exactly what the witness is expected to testify to.
Just because they notified me, I'm just making a record. Just because it doesn't mean it's admissible. I'm objecting to its admissibility as I previously stated.
All right, overruled. She can answer.
Ariana, you had just finished telling me that your mom had told you something that had happened to her that was making her upset.
Yes.
What did your mom tell you? And tell me exactly the words that your mom used.
Your Honor, also I'd ask that the proper predicate be laid. Day, time, place, people, present. There's been some confusion about the date, and I would ask that that be established.
All right, fair enough. Why don't you make sure we all know which time we're talking about? We've talked about two situations.
Yes, Judge. Tell me one more time who you said was present whenever this happened, Ariana.
Me and my brother.
Okay. Your brother Marcus that you were telling me about earlier?
Yes.
What time of day did this happen?
It was always nighttime.
Was it dark outside?
Yes.
And do you know exactly what day and what month this happened in?
No.
But is this the first time that your mom had ever told you something like this?
Yes.
Okay. And what did she tell you?
She said every time he come around, he acts to see her body parts.
Okay. And you kind of gestured toward your chest. Is that what your mom did whenever she said body parts?
Yes.
Do you know a person by the name of Raven Summers, Ariana?
Yes.
Who is that?
My mom friend.
Your mom's friend?
Yes.
And you were telling me earlier that back in 2014, you were living at this house at 15th and Jordan. Do you remember telling me that?
Yes.
Do you still live in that house right now?
No.
Did you have to move?
Yes.
Why did you move?
Because my mom didn't want to stay in that area no more.
Do you know why?
No.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, cross-examination.
Ariana, how are you doing?
Good.
You and I have never had an opportunity to speak, correct?
Correct.
You testified that you know this guy or a guy that went by the name of Spike,
Yes.
and he was wearing some kind of uniform?
Black.
And was he an Oklahoma City police officer?
Yes.
You told us about two things, two times that you can remember seeing Spike.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Okay. And the first time would have been after you'd been to the grocery store with your mom.
Yes.
And you said that Spike had parked his car right in front of the driveway.
Yes.
Okay. And that you along with your brother carried some groceries inside the house.
Yes.
And you weren't able to see or hear anything
No.
on that occasion, correct? Are you agreeing with me?
Yes.
Okay. I know this is a little intimidating, and I'm trying to make this as less painful as I can, or as least painful. But on this first time that you saw Spike, you didn't have a conversation with your mother afterwards.
No.
Is that a fair statement?
No.
And I know when you say no, are you agreeing with me that you did not?
I did not.
Okay. So the second, now you remember there are being like a burglary at your house anytime over there?
Yes.
Okay. In relationship to that burglary, someone broke into the house over there on 15th and Jordan. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And some guy had, I think, actually stolen like your microwave in your house.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And he took off running from the house.
Yes.
Okay. Using that as a reference point, let's try to focus in on that event. From that event, this time that you're telling us about that you first saw Spike and your mother talking, would it have been before or after that person broke into your house and stole that microwave?
Before.
Would it have been like the day before?
Yes.
Okay. So, is it a real short period of time between the first time you saw Spike at that time and the person broke into your house and stole that microwave?
Yes.
And then the guy that broke into your house, do you remember that the police were called on that deal?
No.
Do you remember the police coming to your house after somebody broke into and ran out of the door with the microwave?
Yes.
Okay. Were you there when that happened?
Yes.
Did you see the guy?
No.
But did you know that the police had to chase him down?
No.
Do you know whether or not that guy who ran out of your house with the microwave got tackled by the police? Do you know anything about that?
No.
So, do you know anything about that guy getting caught or anything?
No.
Okay. But this is the first time that you saw Spike. Was it right before that?
Yes.
Okay. And then your mom told you nothing, correct?
She didn't tell me nothing.
Then the next time, from using that time the person broke into your house and stole the microwave, if we focus in on that,
Yeah.
how long was it from the second time that you saw Spike?
It was like a week.
Okay. So approximately a week, maybe even a little bit longer.
Yes.
And when you saw Spike that time, again, it was late at night.
Yes.
And had you been somewhere with your mom and brother?
Yes. Out to eat.
You also have a sister named, how you pronounce that?
Zion.
Zion? You have a sister named Zion.
Yes.
And how old is Zion?
15.
Now, Zion, was she there the first time you saw Spike?
Yes.
And was she there the second time you saw Spike?
No.
Who was there the second time you saw this guy named Spike?
Me and my brother.
Okay, just you two. Was there anyone else do you recall your mom having any friends over or anything like that?
Yes. Angela.
Angela?
Uh-huh.
Is that Angela Cooper?
Yes.
Is she a family friend?
Yes.
And so on the second time you saw Spike, it was Angela, you, your little brother, and your mom, Tabitha.
Yes.
And tell me, when did you first see this guy that you know by Spike?
When it was a man laying in our yard and he pulled up and said that he went inside the house.
And just so, and we're trying, none of us were there, so we're just trying to kind of visualize what you remember and what you saw. Were you already at the house?
Yes.
And was your mom and your brother, all these people you told us about, y'all were inside the house?
No, I wasn't inside.
Okay, were you outside?
Yes.
And do you remember what time it was?
No.
Do you know what midnight is?
Yes.
Okay, was it before or after midnight?
It was like, I can say 10 something.
So a couple hours before midnight.
Yes.
And who all is outside when you first see Spike?
Just me.
Okay. And where's your mom and Angela and your little brother?
It was 2 police cars then.
So 2 police cars showed up on this second time that you saw Spike.
Yes.
Okay. And when these 2 police cars pulled up, you were the only person outside?
Yes.
And was your mom and everyone else you talked about, were they all inside the house?
No, my mom was still in his car.
Okay. So how did your mom get in his car?
Well,
Where was she when this guy first pulled up?
he'd tell her to come here.
Okay. Was she outside?
Yes.
Okay. Who else? That's what I'm trying to find out is, and if you're the only one that knows because you're the only one that was there. So when he first pulls up, who all is outside that you remember?
Just me. It was always just me.
Wow. Okay. So when he pulls up, it's just you. How does he get your mom outside?
Because he told my brother, he told me to tell my mom to come outside.
Okay. So Spike told you to tell your mom to come outside.
Yeah.
And so did you go inside and tell your mom she needs to come outside?
Yes.
And you're sure that's how that happened? It wasn't that
Oh, god dang it, I'm sorry.
so it wasn't that y'all had been somewhere and drove up and he was already there.
No.
Okay. And so when your mother came outside, is that when she got into the police car?
Yes.
And you know where the driver's side on a police car?
Yes.
And is that the same side that your mother got in where the driver's side, or where the driver sits in the
No.
back? I know you said
Yes, in the back.
she got in the back. But, you know, if you're sitting in the back seat of a car, you can either be sitting right behind the person who's driving, or you can be sitting on over to the other side, what we call the passenger side, where no one can drive the car in front of them. What side was she on?
She was on the passenger side in the back seat part, though, like behind the.
So she would have been, if there was a driver in the car, she would have been kind of back over this way on the passenger side of the back seat.
Yeah.
Okay. And the whole time you saw your mom in the car, was the door ever closed?
No.
Okay. It was always open.
Yes.
Could you actually see your mom?
No.
So, do you know whether or not she was completely in the car, or whether she was just hanging out of the car, or what?
Her legs was out the car.
And how could you see that?
Yes.
And could you see, and you could see that?
Yes.
And then, but you never saw anything that you thought was inappropriate. Would that be a fair statement?
No.
You did see something?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you didn't see anything.
No.
But then you said after your mom came inside, she was upset and was crying.
Yes.
And she told you that he'd touched her body parts.
Yes.
Okay, now you have an opportunity, since all these things happen, to talk to your mom about these things.
Haven't talked to her about it.
You what?
I have not talked to her about it.
Well, do you remember the first time you ever I think the only time you ever talked to the police about what you're talking about here today, do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
No.
Okay. Where did you talk to the police about this thing you're telling everybody about today? Where were you?
It was like in our beside the car. She was still in the car, and it was like on the other side of the car.
Okay, I'm not talking about Spike anymore. I'm talking about the first time you ever talked to the police officer.
It was inside our house.
You were inside your house?
Yes. What the hell?
And what? Do you remember the police officer's name that talked to you?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to pause right here.
Yeah.
First of all, I put it in the chat. This entire testimony from this little girl is completely false. It's misremembered. She doesn't remember what she's been told to say. She's got the two different incidents completely mixed
up.
together, like in a big old salad bowl.
Yep.
And is she 11?
She's 12 or 13 at this time.
Okay. She was 11 when it happened.
When it happened, yeah. So, she's been coached, obviously.
Yeah.
Badly coached.
Badly. Very bad. Well, I mean, think about it, though. It's all a lie to begin with. So she's being coached to lie. And to lie about sequences of events that we have even had a hard time untwisting. So, of course, it's going to be really difficult for her. I'm not even mad at her. She's just doing what all these lying adults are telling her. Number one. Number two, did you finally lose count of how many times Mr. Scott Adams referred to him as Spike?
I know.
It's just fucking ridiculous.
He refers to him as Spike more than any other time in this up to this point he's referred to, and it burned my butt so bad. I was so pissed.
Yeah, he's Daniel's lawyer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really unprofessional.
Yes. Well, and just he should be referring to him as Officer Holtzclaw or the defendant, something.
That's
anything
right.
But Spike.
Anything but what Tabitha Barnes has named him.
Right. And then
did Daniel ever wear gel and mousse in his hair like that?
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose he did. I don't know. Ask Tabitha. She said he always had the mousse all up in his hair. So apparently she knows.
And I know that was a style for a lot of young men, but I don't know. He just doesn't seem the type. But I don't know him.
Well,
I can see them nicknaming him.
I can see, because he did. There were times, in fact, unfortunately, in pictures in court, he's got that freaking spike up in his front of his hair, and it really bothered me because as much as they referred to him as Spike throughout this this case, that just looked bad. That was horrible, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
What looks bad about it? I mean, it's wrong that they're calling him that. But the fact that he has spiked hair, it
reinforces it in front of the jury. That's my opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong, Susan. I'm not. I'm just saying to me it reinforces her story, it gives it more credibility. And
they're looking over there at the defense table, going, "Oh yeah, he does have spiked hair. I can see why they would call it spike." That's my opinion.
That's just all I'm thinking. That what the jury would be thinking.
Yeah, I don't care if he had spiked hair.
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah, that's no big deal at all. But it's just this entire testimony is just false. All of it. And
it's pretty awful.
And and so what they're getting ready to talk about now, I believe is if you remember back to the first interview that there's no recording of. I don't know why, but I just assumed that they would be sitting outside in the police car or just sitting outside. I don't even know, talking. I just assumed that. But when Ariana is explaining this first time that she talked with Detective Gregory, she says it was inside our house. And that was like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, I don't think, but I guess I just had the impression that because the second recorded interview allegedly took place out in the police car because Rocky tells Tabitha, well, go in and have her go inside, go in the house or whatever he says, and have her come out here.
Right.
And we can hear them.
In prelim, she says that Tabitha says that she interviewed twice with Daniel with Gregory in the police car.
Yeah. So it's not bad. It's just I just thought, oh, that's interesting. This is the first time we've ever heard about the detective going in the house. It was
It's
just a little
inconsistent.
thing.
It's inconsistent.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just a small thing in the grand scheme of this entire testimony, but
Is it?
I don't know. Yeah, it was just
I mean, to me, she's been way overcoached. They should have kept it very simple
Mm-hmm.
and very clean, but I think they really pounded on her.
Yeah. And didn't take into consideration excuse me, I just swallowed my water the wrong way. How young she was and how
Yeah.
hard all that was going to be to remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
sitting there in front of all those people and the judge. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to say those few things before we finish up with her testimony here.
Okay.
Okay.
Line 3. Do you see that police officer anywhere inside inside the courtroom behind that wall over there?
No.
Do you remember ever sitting in a police car out in front of your house talking about what you've told us today?
No.
Oh my God. Do you remember at any time any police officer driving over to your house over there on 15th and Jordan and wanting to talk to you about what you told these people here today?
Yes.
Okay. And was that a man police officer?
Yes.
And okay, and was he wearing a uniform or was he just in a regular clothes?
Regular clothes.
Okay. Was it this guy right here that you were talking to?
Detective?
Detective. And do you remember his name? Is it Detective Gregory?
Gregory? Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Do you remember talking to him?
Yes.
And do you remember going and sitting in his car and talking to him?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And do you remember him asking you what you had saw?
I can't remember.
Do you remember during that conversation that he had to tell you that he knew that you couldn't see anything like that and that he wanted to know what you could actually really see?
I don't remember.
Do you remember him after doing those things asking you to tell you what your mother told you?
No.
You don't remember anything like that? Okay. Now, other than the 2 times that you said that you saw Spike at your house, you never saw him again, right?
No.
And I know when you say no, you're saying that you did not.
I didn't see him since then.
But your mom told you that she had seen him drive by your house some, but you never saw that.
Yes, I never saw him.
And did you ever see Spike after that again, ever?
No, I didn't.
So, do you ever remember him coming up to the house, knocking on the door, anything like that?
No.
And in the living arrangements at the time, you and your little brother and your mom were staying at that house on 15th and Jordan with Zion?
Yeah.
Also staying there?
No.
Was there anybody else in the house other than you and your little brother and your mom?
No.
You talked about, do you remember Terry?
Yes.
And did Terry stay there too sometimes?
He only stayed there one day, one time. Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh, wow. And do you remember when that was?
No.
And when you say he only stayed there one time, is that just all that you can recall?
Yes.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Lori, Ms. McConnell.
No, Your Honor. Sorry.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, Ms. Barnes. You can step down and Mr. Giger will show you the way out.
We have another witness. Will be relatively shorter than this one.
All right.
If you want to do another, you want to do one? Do you want to do another one?
Yeah.
Gloria Prince. Judge, she has a visual impairment, so I'm going to help her get into the witness box.
All right, ma'am. Mr. Digger's going to help you get into this chair. All right, Miss Prince, we're going to pull a microphone right around in front of you. If you would tell us your name and spell it for us, please.
Gloria? Yeah,
Oh,
if you don't mind, that would be great. Thank you.
Gloria Jean Prince, Gloria. Gloria Prince, Prince.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You're doing a great job. Mr. Giger, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Miss Prince, do you have a daughter by the name of Tabitha Barnes?
Yes, I do.
And you have other children as well, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you also have some grandkids?
Yes, I do. Great grandkids too.
Is Ariana one of your grandkids?
Yes.
Zion one of your grandkids?
Who?
Zion?
Yes, she is.
Marcus?
Yes, he is.
All right, ma'am. I want to turn your attention back, if I can, to some conversations you had with your daughter, Tabitha.
Yes.
Was there a time, ma'am, when you remember Tabitha talking to you about a police officer who was coming around her house?
Yes.
All right. When she was talking to you, ma'am, do you remember the time period as to when that might have occurred?
I can't recall the time.
Was your daughter living up here in Oklahoma City at the time?
Yes, she was.
Do you know where she was living in Oklahoma City back then?
On the east side someplace.
Okay. Had you ever been to her house and visited?
Yes, I had.
Okay. If I told you around Northeast 15th Street and a cross street named Jordan,
Yes.
does that sound familiar to you?
I recall that.
Okay. Do you remember what color the house was? Isn't she
Probably white.
blind?
Yeah.
She is blind. Probably white.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Could you see well back then either?
No.
What a dumbass question.
He's an
Okay,
idiot.
you weren't living though in Oklahoma City at that time. Do I understand that?
Not at that time, no.
Okay. Where were you living at that time, ma'am?
I was in Arlington.
But would you on occasion have conversations with your daughter Tabitha over the phone?
Yes.
All right. And was it during these conversations over the phone that she began to tell you about the police officer?
Yes.
Did that happen on more than one occasion or just one occasion?
More than once.
All right. Was there a time, ma'am? Let me ask this question. And if you don't understand, tell me. I don't want you to tell me what she said, but when she talked to you about this police officer, was it something that had upset her?
Yes.
Oh my God.
All right. And did you talk to her and give her some counsel about that police officer?
Yes. I told the police officer quit harassing my daughter.
That's what you told your daughter to say?
Yes.
All right. I want to turn your attention to one day in particular, ma'am. Do you remember a day whenever you were talking to your daughter and it was brought to your attention that the police officer was in fact there with your daughter while you were talking on the phone to her?
Yes.
Okay. And that at that time, ma'am, you were living down there in North Texas area?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall your telephone number?
Yes. No.
Would it have been an 817 area code?
Most likely.
Ma'am, if I tell you a number, would you tell me if you can remember it or not? Okay. 817-419-2469. Do you remember that phone number?
Not really, but I'm sure it's mine.
Okay, but you were down in North Texas area, and do you remember you had an 817 telephone number?
Yes.
Oh, now 2 seconds later she remembers.
Of course.
All right, ma'am. Do you recall what time of day it might have been that you were on the phone with your daughter?
No, I couldn't recall that.
Do you remember that your daughter, though? You do remember it happening and the police officer coming up?
Yes.
Tell me how you knew that. You knew the actual police officer was there.
Because my daughter said so.
Your daughter said so?
Yes.
Could you hear the police officer over the phone?
Yes.
You could actually hear his words?
Yes.
Was it a male voice?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation as that came up. What were you saying to your daughter? And just tell me what was going on that caused you to. Let me ask a better question. I'm sorry.
Jesus, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I need to
Let me-
ask things in the right
me-
way.
Yeah, let me lead you where I want you to go. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to ask things in the right way. So let me try to do it the right way. Whenever your daughter told you what was going on with the police officer coming up,
Yes.
based on what she said and based on what you heard the police officer say, did it cause you to respond?
Yes.
What did your daughter say, or what did you hear the police officer say?
He said, "Come on down here and get her."
Okay, well, tell me in what context did he say, come on down here and get her? Tell me what was going on.
The conversation?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what he said.
Okay, what had happened before he said that? Help me understand what he was saying. Tell her to come on down. What did he?
He told me to come down and get her.
Okay, so you understood him to be saying that to Tabitha, but for Tabitha to tell you that?
Yes.
Why did he say tell her to come on down, ma'am?
I don't know.
Had you heard that Tabitha had said to him before had you heard what Tabitha said to him before he said that?
I don't think so.
Okay, based on your memory, Miss Prince, do you remember if it was a cordial conversation or was it an unfriendly conversation?
Most likely unfriendly.
Okay,
What
and
an
tell me
answer.
okay, and tell
Most
me
likely.
why you remember it being that way.
The way he spoke.
You felt like he wasn't being friendly?
Exactly.
Did you say anything in response to that, or did you react any way in response to that?
I can't recall to that. It's been a year ago, hasn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
I can't recall word for word.
Whenever you heard the police officer say those words, was it your understanding that that is the police officer that your daughter had been complaining to you about?
Yes.
And why did you make that conclusion?
Because she told me.
What did she say?
She told me he was harassing her.
Judge, I'm going to object.
Judge.
Hang on a second.
Pardon me?
Just a second.
Come up.
Mr. Adams.
Again, Your Honor, it's clear hearsay. I object on those grounds. Also, I guess it's bolstering. I don't know exactly where they're headed with it, but there's nothing in the report that is reflective of what Tabitha told her mother in regards to identifying this officer? There's nothing. And I've got the report. I'll be happy to provide it to the court. But the question on the table right now is what did she tell you to lead you to believe that it's the officer she was having problems with, and what did she tell you? And I object as hearsay.
What the report says is that Tabitha had told her mother that the police officer had been in her house without her consent. He went in the house unannounced. That was on prior occasions.
Occasions? Whatever. Sorry.
Right. One
Right.
time, Tabitha called her up and said the officer was over and he wanted to search your house. Gloria was on the phone for that one, and Gloria told her that she didn't have to let him in or let him search. Tabitha was supposedly relaying the information, and Gloria heard the officer tell Tabitha, well, have her come on down then. So again, it's not offered for the truth of all that. It's why she said what she said, and then the context of that. And I think I've laid a foundation to establish that.
That you're what?
I've laid a foundation to establish that the reason that those statements need to come in as to why she was telling her daughter to do what she did and why she reacted the way she did as far as what her daughter told her. So I thought I laid a foundation for it to be to show the effect on the hearer, not for the truth of the matter asserted.
Frankly, Judge, this has really become a trial about hearsay because if we get an alleged victim up here on the stand and then we have 4 or 5 witnesses who testify what this alleged victim told them, it's hearsay after hearsay after hearsay after hearsay.
All right. Well, my ruling as to this is going to be, I'm going to sustain the objection on the hearsay grounds as to what she said.
As to what?
As to what
Tabitha said?
Tabitha said to Gloria.
Okay. Miss Prince, during the telephone conversation, and again, you've said this, and I don't want you to tell me at this moment what your daughter said, but your daughter had expressed concerns about an officer, correct?
Yes, yes.
All right. And you've told me about the conversation. Then, where you heard what the officer said on the phone during the context of one of these conversations. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
All right. Did it upset you, the things that your daughter was telling you?
Yes.
All right. You never got to speak to the officer personally yourself. You just overheard that conversation.
Right.
Okay. And ma'am, did you give your daughter some advice other than what you've already told me about? What to do in that situation?
No.
Okay. Did you ever encourage your daughter to do anything about being there?
I told her to call someone, another authority, to give her some advice on what to do.
Did you have any idea as to who that other authority might be, ma'am?
No, I just told her to contact somebody else because he had no right to harass her.
After those events, ma'am, do you know whether or not your daughter moved away from that house?
Yes.
All right. Currently, ma'am, is your daughter residing in a house with you?
Yes.
All right. Trying to help you?
Yes.
All right.
Not trying to
Well,
help her.
pass the witness. Oh, sorry, trying to help her. Sorry.
Okay.
Pass the witness.
I don't have anything, Your Honor. Judge Cherie.
I thought it was Giger speaking next, but that, all right, ladies and gentlemen, it's about 16 minutes after 12, so we're going to break for our afternoon lunch break. We'll be in recess until 1:30. I need to admonish you not to discuss the case, not to let anyone discuss the case with you. Do not try to find out anything about the case. Don't try to form any opinions about the case until it's over. If anyone should try to contact you or talk to you about the case, notify me or my
All right.
Staff immediately. Sorry, that was it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We've been 2.5 hours, and I don't want to start the second part of Tabitha's testimony because it's going to take us. It's 152 pages, I think, and so I don't want to go. It'll take us 2 hours.
That's 3. That's 3 hours.
Yeah, so we're going to hold off on that one. But what I'm going to do, so that you don't have to wait for a whole full week, if it's okay with those who are reading with us, I'm thinking about doing it on Monday night to do Tabitha Barnes' second part of her testimony.
Okay.
Okay.
What
Work
about
for
the
me.
second part of the in camera?
The second in camera, does that come right now?
I don't know.
Let me look.
It's not that long. It's only 15 pages, I think.
9.
Oh, is it? Okay. I
Do
looked
I
at
have
the
the
wrong.
wrong one? I don't know.
Last one I got up here is
Yeah, that's
13 pages.
Um,
Is that right? Yeah, in camera, part 2.
I think we read part 2 first.
No,
oh,
I
hope
don't
not.
think so. No.
no, I don't think. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Let me look at it and see. Oh my gosh, it's going to download it. Cancel. Let me get into my file here. It gets confusing because there's so many.
It's on 1855.
Okay. All I have is just the parts that I've, let's see.
Flipped.
Yeah. And the influence that people really are and it comes in waves. Okay, so we can. Okay, yeah. Well, so this will be a definite teaser. Let's go ahead and read this one. It will be a good teaser for the second part of Tabitha's testimony. Yes. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and read this one, and I think that'll be good. And then we'll play on Monday. We'll come back and we'll go through Tabitha Barnes's testimony because after you hear this in camera hearing, you're going to probably want to come back and hear her testimony because it'll be fun. So let's go ahead. Does everybody have the link for that one? Did I give that all to all of you guys?
I've got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with that. So it'll start with Mr. Giger. It'll basically be Giger, the judge, and Adams. And we'll get through that fairly quick. It's not too long. What am I doing here? I can't get my StreamYard tab.
You want to actually start on line 20 of 1855, the court explaining.
I don't know that you can start there. I don't have that one printed, so I won't show it on the screen, but you guys can start.
Okay, well, Cherie's reading from your screen, so
okay.
I'll read the court, that
Okay.
first part.
Okay.
The court. Okay, we broke for lunch. The court has asked that the attorneys investigate, research a little bit about this issue concerning Miss Barnes, Tabitha Barnes, who, in the court's opinion, was obviously intoxicated as she appeared for court today. Mr. Giger, any thoughts, comments? Mr. Giger. Judge, here's kind of where we stand at this point. I will tell the court, and I've talked to Mr. Rowland a little bit, who has far more experience in this dealing with drug cases than I do, and the influence that people, the way they act. What I have witnessed from Miss Barnes are moments like whenever she was talking to the court where I would agree she clearly appeared to be suffering from under the influence of something, to moments of just a few minutes ago, she seemed more coherent and cooperative. I asked Mr. Rowland about that, and he said his experience with the effects of PCP is you continue to act that way for about 24 hours. He said the high lasts for about 6 to 12 hours, but then it kind of comes off and comes in waves where there's moments of incoherence, and then there's moments where they're more coherent but clearly still under the influence, off and on the drugs. And that seems to be consistent with her behaviors. When I spoke to her alone this morning, the first time I talked with her, I honestly didn't think she'd taken any drugs because she seemed to be fine and understanding. I think Detective Gregory was with me in the room at that time, but I do not disagree with the court's assessment or Mr. Adams' assessment that whenever the court was making inquiry of her, she was slurred speech, having trouble, I think, focusing on the questions. The court.
And I don't know if this is on the record or not, but I think we all agreed that she would take a drug test and she agreed to it.
She did acknowledge that she would take a drug test.
And went over and it came back positive for benzodiazepine.
Benzodiazepine.
Okay, yeah, that. I think maybe some kind of drug that she was taking, that she was prescribed, that was a prescribed medication, maybe Seroquel or something like that, along with PCP.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to mark that as court's exhibit number 11.
So the court knows through the moments of more coherency, Miss Barnes has acknowledged that within the last week she was at a party somewhere in Texas and was exposed to PCP.
Oh my
Whether or
God.
not that's accurate, I don't know. But that's what she's told me now when I said, you need to tell me the truth and let's deal with this. Yeah, because whatever she says is the truth.
Yeah, right.
How long do you know how long PCP stays in your system?
The half-life, oh God, I just looked that up. I want to say it's 72 hours, the half-life. I'll look what you guys are reading.
In any event, also so that the court understands and the record's clear, at one point over the lunch hour, consistent with her mood swings, she refused to testify and tried to leave. And Oklahoma City police detained her, I believe. Oklahoma City police don't detain people in the Oklahoma County courthouse. Give me a goddamn break. And I don't want to speak out of turn. They haven't staffed it with me, but basically for disorderly conduct and public intoxication, because she was not being coherent and she was making somewhat of a scene. And I understand, and as I understand it, in the hallway. I did not witness it. So she's still in the building, but she's detained. They've not processed her in on a misdemeanor charge or anything at this point yet. And guess what, guys? There's no police report of her being
Wow.
detained. No police report by Oklahoma City Police Department. No report by Oklahoma County sheriff deputies who actually have do security for Oklahoma County
Well,
Courthouse.
why am I not surprised that
Wow.
Mr. Giger would, I don't know, tell a big fib?
Well, I mean, I know they detained her. That's not the thing. They detained her, but no one wrote a report about it.
They forgot.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
he's acting like, oh, he hasn't, tried to file charges based on the. We haven't staffed it yet.
Yeah, well, staffed it. What a crock of crap.
No, we're just holding her with no documentation of her being held except for this record right here.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. They've not processed her in on a misdemeanor charge or anything at this point yet. In regard to the legal position that the state finds itself in, we attempted to do what admittedly it's going to be a cursory research project over the lunch hour, and not to mention all the other things that were going on with Miss Barnes upstairs. But for a witness to be unavailable under 2804 in Title 12 subsection A defines when a witness is unavailable. And I think the closest analogy that I can draw to the situation we have in front of us is paragraph A4, and that is that the witness is unable to be present or to testify. Clearly she's present, but she's unable to testify at the hearing because of death or a then existing physical or mental illness or infirmity.
Oh, so she gets high and she's giving a mulligan. Okay.
I think under the statute, that was going to be the closest subsection to be analogous to our situation.
Yeah.
We did a nationwide search. I should say Mr. Rowland did a nationwide search on Lexis to try to see if there were any cases that elaborate on that within the context of intoxication, and he was unable to find anything. The only thing that I think that's even close to being somewhat helpful is Howell v. State. It's 882, page 2D, 1086. I don't know what the hell that means. And again, it doesn't really address directly the issue. It essentially restates, I think, what the statute is saying. And that is in determining in this case whether or not a co-defendant was unable to testify, it just says it's generally recognized that the availability of a witness depends on much of the production of his testimony as it does his presence in the courtroom. And so clearly she's present, but are we, as we stand here at this moment, able to produce her as a competent witness? And I think that determination has been made by the court based upon the drug test, as well as the court's observation that right now she appears to be under the influence. I haven't found any case law that says if you're under the influence, you're not a competent witness, but I'm not sure that would be a hotly contested issue. I don't know any of us want to put any of us want to put on a witness who's under the influence of something. So, in that regard, because the statute does not elaborate, and I haven't found any law to draw a distinction between if someone is under a physical or mental illness or infirmity at their own hand or despite their own actions, I don't see that the statute draws a distinction, and I haven't found any authority to indicate if the court can draw a distinction in that. So it's the state's position that as we sit here today, she is unavailable under 2404A4. Not trying to minimize the confrontation rights. Clearly, there's a transcript. Clearly, she was subject to cross-examination at the preliminary hearing. But as a practical matter, I'm going to speculate that one of the reasons we don't have case law analogous to this situation is it seems to me a practical remedy is to detain the person who's come to court either for public intox or I think there's arguably a contempt of court issue to come to court intoxicated as a witness under a subpoena. But in any event, she's detained at this moment. Give her an opportunity based upon what Mr. Rowland has told me. The effects of PCP lasts over the weekend. It is right now almost 2. It's 1:45 on Friday afternoon. The state's ready to go forward with another of the alleged victims. I understand that it's somewhat disadvantaged. Well, I understand that we started the direct testimony. We have not concluded the direct testimony of Miss Barnes. I anticipate that I have about 45 minutes probably to go with her before I would pass the witness for cross-examination. Clearly, by Monday morning, absent her exposure to something unforeseen in the county jail, if she was detained over the weekend, certainly the effects of whatever she took, whenever she took it, that resulted in a positive drug test today would likely have worn off. And since this trial, by no one's estimation, could be finished today or next week for that matter, I don't know of any legal reason or any precedent that would say it would be unfair to the defendant to move forward with more of our case in chief where we haven't rested and give her an opportunity to see on Monday if she is, number one, sober and or refusing to testify.
Hold on, Cherie, before you go any further.
Yeah.
Pause.
God
Holy
Almighty.
shit.
Bigger is doing everything he can to keep her off of the stand today or that day.
Yeah.
He
Of course.
does not want her getting up there and
Spouting
fucking
off.
up his whole game, which is already sounding fucked up anyway. But yeah, he is desperate to keep her from testifying. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, you're gonna get an opinion of a non-lawyer from Big Jeff and Jack's law firm, but to me, Judge Henderson should have dismissed her as a witness. Period. End of story. Her testimony is stricken.
Yeah.
That's me. Well, yeah, she intentionally. It wasn't like she fell in a barrel of PCP after court was over that day. She took something and was screwed up the next morning, whatever she took, and tested positive for an illegal drug.
And he was convicted on her charges with a ridiculous amount of years, right?
It was a split. I mean, I think he was not convicted on the burglary. It was a split, I think 2 and 2.
Yeah, he wasn't convicted on the burglary, and he wasn't convicted on the stalking. I don't.
Oh, that's correct. That's right.
Yeah, just on the sexual, and he got 60-some years, didn't he?
No.
I
don't
remember.
I can't remember
for sure. And so I looked it up, and the half-life of a PCP in your system is anywhere from 7 to 46 hours, with an average PCP half-life in the system being about 21 hours. So she smoked that PCP at least
Not a week before.
at least a few days before, for it to still be showing up in her system. So, she was freshly high off the PCP. It wasn't just THC. In fact, I don't even know that they mentioned that she tested positive for THC, but she did test positive for I don't know if it goes through here or not, but she did test positive for the Seroquel and Celexa, but also for PCP. So,
and benzodiazepine
and
the
benzodiazepines. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, it was, this isn't just something that she smoked a week before or a few weeks before. This was within the last at least 46 hours.
So
before
her first day of testimony happened, and then was it that same day they did the drug test, or was that the next morning?
It was that same day. They took her over that same day.
Okay, and then this is the following day,
Yes.
the second in camera?
Yes.
Okay.
So, it's fairly, it was, she probably smoked PCP probably just before they left for Oklahoma, or because they flew from Texas, or just after she got to Oklahoma, most likely.
Well, she was obviously wasted.
Yes, enough that she was slurring her
Yeah.
words and her speech, and that is also, well, and I think they even said this, part of a PCP reaction is to be normal and seeming to be completely coherent at one point, and then just crazy, moments later, just completely off the rails. So that's pretty typical of a PCP high, from what I understand. So, it's I don't know. All I know is that Galen Gigger does not want her on the witness stand on this day. So we will, starting on line 6 with the court, we're going to find out what gets decided. Cherie, do you want to?
Okay. Let me just put, before I have you respond, Mr. Adams, what the court has looked up and found under 2601. The general rule of competency: every person is competent to be a witness except as otherwise provided in this code. Now the question arises, does the trial court have the authority to exclude someone as a witness? And I think the case of Gilson versus State, it's 8P 3rd 883, is talking about dealing mainly with child witnesses, whether they're competent, whether the trial court believes that they have an understanding. But in some of these comments, under the Courtroom Guide to Oklahoma Evidence, Winery 2012 edition, it states that the question is whether a judge has any discretion to exclude a witness from the stand on the ground that the witness does not understand the proceeding, is inebriated at the time he is called to testify, or is too young to appreciate the responsibilities of being a witness. I think the court does have some discretion in that, and I don't know that it does anybody any service, notwithstanding the system or the jurors, to put somebody on the stand that this court thinks is intoxicated at the time. I guess that could be argued. It could be favorable or unfavorable to either side, but I don't think it's seeking the interest of justice in any way to put somebody that this court believes to be intoxicated and apparently has been confirmed by a urinalysis test of the presence of the PCP. So I'm just throwing that out.
And we've researched it too, just like Mr. Giger and the court has done. And I agree. The only one that would even apply to would be the section 4 that Mr. Giger, but I don't think it does apply. And I agree. We've read the very case that you're talking about, and we drop down to the footnotes and find that the court can make a determination of intoxication. The dilemma I'm in, I do believe that the court does have that discretion and ability to do that. I also agree with the court that it is not in the best interest of justice. Maybe it may be in the best interest of Mr. Holtzclaw, which is really what I'm after, and also justice too. But still, on behalf of Mr. Holtzclaw, it's a very difficult situation because I've quite frankly never seen this arise, and quite frankly, we did as wide of a search as we could. We haven't found a similar circumstance, which is unusual, that you can't find something that at least somewhat parallel, but I couldn't find, and neither could Mr. Gray. So I do object to. I understand the. I think the court has the ability to have her incarcerated over the weekend to help her sober up. I think the court has the absolute discretion to do that. I object to it, and if we're going to do that, I would just as soon put her on the stand now and have her finish her testimony. Then, if the court is inclined to either have her incarcerated or put somewhere where she can sober up over the weekend, whatever the court chooses to do, then all that I would request, I need obviously when she's called back on Monday, if that's what the plan is going to be, is that I had an opportunity to talk to the witness while she was back here along with Mr. Giger and all the detectives when I clearly felt that she was intoxicated, and we were going through the problem I'm having. I'm trying to get a grip on what happened, and I think it's important that and can certainly go to her credibility. I'm trying to get a grip on what happened out there at the hotel. I have a general idea of what happened, but then the more I think about it, I really don't. And so my understanding is that Mr. Rowland was going to go out along with an investigator or detective earlier today, and that has not occurred. But he intends on sending the right people, or it's going to happen sometime today, I'm assuming. But that I'll be provided all the information of exactly what they believe transpired out there, so I can make a determination of whether or not it's relevant to this case. But I do object to continuing the witness. But I do object to continuing the witness and proceeding on with other witnesses out of order. But I do believe, quite frankly, the court does have that discretion. And if I have anything more than that, I would put it on the record. But my research has found nothing more than what you and Mr. Giger have already stated.
All right, I'm going to today exclude her from being a witness. I'm going to give her the opportunity to sober up and I guess, try again. If we have issues that come up from that, I guess we'll deal with those issues as they are. I know she is being at least monitored by the Oklahoma City Police Department and or the DA's office at this time. I believe she's intoxicated, but I'm not ordering her to be placed under arrest or anything like that. It will be up to the Oklahoma City Police Department or the county sheriff, since we're in the courthouse, I guess.
And that's fine, Your Honor. I want the record to be clear too. If that's the court's order, I certainly am not going to take issue with it as far as excluding her today. I'll reiterate, there are moments she seems coherent to me, and there are moments, much like whenever the court was inquiring of her, that she clearly was not coherent. Over the lunch hour, I was with her about 30 minutes, probably at different times. And during that entire time period, she seemed coherent. And Detective Gregory was in the room with me. And whether or not he agrees, I don't know. I don't know that it's relevant for this record, but but I'm not opposed to putting her on and seeing if she's able to answer the questions. If the court feels like she's not following or slurring her speech again or suffering under the effects of it, then obviously, as the presider of these proceedings and the discretion the court has, you could stop it at that point. I mean, clearly, my intention is to not go into all the details that happened at the hotel,
I
but
bet not.
I do think it's relevant for this jury to understand that she's a drug addict, and I don't know if she'll even admit to that or not. I mean, clearly, if I anticipate, I will inquire on direct of that if we were to go today. I might even inquire that on Monday because I think it's relevant not only to what's happened today, but it may be relevant to the case in general, to tell the truth.
Well, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know the effects of PCP as long as, someone can be intoxicated on it if they come and go. I guess you talked to Mr. Rowland, who worked with the Bureau of Narcotics before, but I just never had that much dealing with people actually on PCP. I don't know if Detective Gregory has or not, or anybody else has any thoughts or.
One of my reasons for that, Your Honor, is this. Even Miss Barnes, over the lunch hour, she said, when I explained to her she tested hot, and that's why we're in this position, that's when she said, okay, it was within the last week she did this at this party. And then she tried to argue with me. And I think Detective Gregory was in the room. There's a difference between testing hot and being under the influence. Huh? So
Well,
she's
you can have something in your system and not necessarily be fucked up.
okay.
Right. That's what he's saying.
So
Yeah.
she's at least coherent enough to make the logical analogy. And I think that might be, I don't know if it was on the record before we took our lunch break or not, but one of my issues is because it's not quantified. I don't know whether or not, obviously she's testing hot. Obviously it's in her system. But clearly, there's a difference between having it in your system and being actually under the influence. But I do not take issue with the court's determination whenever you were asking questions. To a layperson, she clearly seemed to be under the influence. But now she's not, so I don't know.
Well, Your Honor, since I'm objecting to continuing it till Monday and continuing to take witnesses out of order, I would ask him to do what Mr. Giger has suggested: is go ahead and put her up there. If she starts exhibiting those behaviors, we can always take a break, stop and exclude her.
Bring her over.
Detective Gregory, she does seem to be better. It is my personal opinion she was high. I mean, she's high.
What's happening?
No doubt.
What's happening?
But she's coming down. But spending this afternoon with her, she's a lot more coherent. Guaranteed.
It's been several hours, I guess, since we've been doing that.
It has been, Judge, and I don't know if is the right procedure or not. I just know that's what counsel's asked for on behalf of Mr. Holtzclaw. If she starts, I think if any of us start to suspect that she's not coherent and not understanding and not responding, then I think any of us should obviously approach and try to deal with the issue.
Well, and again, if somebody, I don't know, her whole background or anything, but anybody that used drugs for many, 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 many years is going to have a bit of a fried brain and may not respond like some of us would on a question and answer. I was just only thing I had to compare it was from yesterday.
I've spent a lot of time with her, and you're right. She does. She's got kind of a fried brain.
So does he.
Jeez.
Yeah, exactly.
He would know.
Yeah, it takes one to know one, right? And that would relate to my earlier comment that, again, I don't remember if they were on the record or not. My dealings with her is that her hesitancy in answering questions sometimes, and again, my experience is limited. It's only 3 or 4 times I've talked with her, but I'm not sure that my opinion is worth all that much, other than she seemed to answer questions relatively consistently, except when the court was asking her. When the court was asking her, she was clearly slurring her speech.
Let's go try.
All right.
Okay, that's the rest of it's just the regular
Ending.
admonishments. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Okay, so they put her
Holy
back
shit.
on.
Holy
dun, dun,
shit.
dun.
If we were on Discord, I'd be giving you some sound effects, woman.
Yeah.
So
for
I
real.
guess so Tabitha Barnes has set a precedent now, huh?
Clearly.
Yeah.
Apparently so.
So they haven't been able to find any cases nationwide, but now she's the one, so you can clearly
I'm sorry?
testify under the influence.
You can just top it off and put more water in. No, you don't have to pour that ice out.
You
Okay.
test hot for
Okay.
PCP. You don't want the ice poured out?
Sorry. I forgot I wasn't muted. I apologize. God almighty.
What are you drinking?
Yeah, really. What are you
Whiskey.
drinking?
Sadly, it's just water, ice water.
Water.
But I'm gonna tell you, I love ice water. Always have.
Me too.
Yeah.
I drink it all
Love
day
it.
long.
Yep.
Yeah, you clearly do other things with it too, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
We won't tell everybody.
No.
Okay, thank you.
So that will be the cliffhanger. They're going to put her on the stand, even though she just tested positive for PCP, among other things. The other things we can say, okay, it's their prescribed medications, allegedly.
What do benzos do to you? Are they speed or
No,
Benzos,
it's
downers?
no, they're downers. They're like Xanax
Okay.
and Ativan and stuff like that.
Valiant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Valium.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
All right.
she's got a lot of downers in her, and then PCP, because Seroquel would be considered a downer. It definitely knocks you out for sure. And
Good
the
Lord.
Celexa, as far as I can recall, is like another version
Antidepressant.
of an antidepressant. Yeah. So it may or may not alter your mood after you take it. I don't know that for sure.
Mixing all that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing.
Exactly. Yeah, she's used to it for sure. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We will come back on Monday and read the trial testimony, the rest of her trial testimony. And then there will be testimony by Rocky Gregory and Terry Williams, and I think Officer Venegas, I think, as well. So it will be interesting to see how she testifies on Monday. On Monday when we come back, and that way you don't have to wait clear till Thursday, and then we'll go ahead Thursday with the rest of the testimony after that's done. But so that's kind of where we're going to leave you hanging tonight to see how this is going to go. And so we're going to kind of call it an end here. Do you have any last comments you'd like to make, Jack, about anything we've read or talked about in here? Oh, he might be he's with his son, I think.
No, I'm not. Sorry, I couldn't get the damn button unclicked. Wow.
Wow.
Holy shit! Wow, and holy shit!
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I didn't know all this. It's terrible. It's absolutely ridiculous. She has set precedent in that courtroom because she got high.
Yep. Well, and they're going to go ahead and let her testify.
That too.
And so we get to
It's
see
mind
where
blowing.
it is.
They found him guilty of her
Yeah.
accusations. And then in her deposition, she says he never touched me. He never
Yeah.
touched me.
Yeah, it's infuriating, is what it is. She's
What she
already.
understands, he got convicted of me exposing myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I should play again. Find that really quick, and we'll play that on our way out. Just because I know it's been played many times. We've seen it many times. But I'm going to go ahead and just play it again because
Yeah.
I
it's
think
time
now
for it.
that we've heard some of her testimony and we know about this incident where she's, made this claim that, or, she's said all the things that she said. Well, not all of them, because there's more to come. Don't get me wrong. But when we get to the rest of the testimony, I think this will just be even more impactful, I think. So I'm going to play that. And then after I play this video, we're just going to go ahead and end the video here. And we will be back on Monday. What's that, Jack?
Monday at 5 Central?
5 o'clock.
Yep, 5 Central.
Okay.
So here we go.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Night, John.
Thank you all for being here and hanging out and checking us out. We really appreciate it.
How many times did Holtzclaw touch you inappropriately?
He didn't touch me.
He never touched you?
No.
Next to the third to the last line says, Holtzclaw then asked Plaintiff Barnes if there was anything under her breast and fondled Plaintiff Barnes's naked breast. Do you see that?
And naked.
You just read it. Yes, I see it, sir.
Isn't that different than what you testified today?
What do you mean? Is that different?
Didn't you say Holtzclaw didn't touch you?
He didn't.
So this is a mistake.
He did not touch me.
Okay, and if you go back to Defendant's Exhibit number 11, which is the information, count 1.
Go ahead.
5 lines from the bottom of count 1, directing TB to expose her breast and then touching her bare breast with his hand without her consent. That's also a mistake.
He didn't touch me.
Okay. And you understand that Mr. Holtzclaw was convicted of sexual battery on that count as a result of your testimony?
Yes.
So that would have been a lie?
What would have been a lie?
The fact that he was charged with touching you?
I don't know what he was charged with. I know he was charged with 3 counts of me exposing myself.
Okay.
Just one further question, Ms. Barnes. You would agree, would you not, that you have to be 100% truthful about what you've told us today for you to prevail in your lawsuit?
Yes.
Okay, and you've been 100% truthful with us today about everything that you claimed?
Yeah,
You haven't lied to us, right?
No. Everything that I remember is what I remember. That's what I'm telling you.
We're breaking back into coverage as right now Chad Doberman is back in court. Yesterday he was